Hello, hello, howdy, howdy, howdy. How are we all doing? How are we all feeling? Welcome to the show. Got Jimmy Moreland here for you with Veteran Audio. I think we should have some more friends here with us on the stream today. It's good to see you. We're going to be doing some work today. We're going to be getting to work. We like to do real-life voiceover auditions. We like to take a look at ACX. We like to chit-chat about the business. And then later we're going to be doing some real-life audiobook narration. I've got a client who says, yes, I'm good to go on narrating right here live on the stream, so we're going to be doing that later. But first, let's take a look at what we're going to be seeing on the stream today. We've got Pro Tools here, which I don't recommend if you're not having to be in Pro Tools for any particular reason. And then we're also going to be up on, let's see here, we've got voices.com, voice123.com, and then, of course, we'll check out ACX and see what projects are available there. If at any time you have any questions about what's going on, what I'm doing, whether it's software, whether it's any of these websites that we're looking at, or whether it's what my hat's about, whatever you got, feel free to ask a question, whether it's over here on Twitch or on YouTube. I've sort of changed up I've got like a multiple tablet situation going, like directly under camera, so I should be able to monitor everything just fine. But we've got some cool stuff to go through. First of all, if you've never seen the voiceover side of stuff, these are the two big pay-to-play websites. I don't mess around with any of the free stuff like Fiverr or Upwork or any stuff like that. That just seems like a miserable way to make a living. So we over on voices.com and Voice123, there are pretty major differences, even though sometimes you will see the same job posted on both places. But there's some pretty major differences between them. First of all, let's jump right in. Let's try to get some work done, shall we? We've got a private invite. On voices.com, private invites don't necessarily mean anything. Sometimes it means they did a generic search for, usually I've found that it's like a geography. I'm from Texas, but right now I live in Maine, and so sometimes people will do like a search of like general New England states and find me, and I'll get an invite. Based on that. I haven't quite nailed the Mainer accent yet, but whatever, they'll sometimes send me stuff. So not really, we don't have a lot of details here, but it's in the radio ad category. Pretty short audition script here, so let's just go ahead and do it. Let's rearrange my windows here. Boom and boom. And I should have everything set up to where you can hear my loop back so that you can hear the punch and roll process that's going on here. So let's read this audition. Cool. All right, it's pretty simple, straightforward. From car and truck accidents to serious personal injury claims. From car and truck accidents to serious personal injury claims, we handle the legal fight so you can focus on healing and moving forward. Let's give him a couple more reads here. From car and truck accidents to serious personal injury claims. From car and truck accidents to serious personal injury claims, we handle the legal fight so you can focus on healing and moving forward. Like that one better. Let's give one more. From car and truck accidents to serious personal injury claims, we handle the legal fight so you can focus on healing and moving forward. Let's cut those last two takes together, and that's what we call good enough. When I say something is good enough, I don't mean that in a pejorative sense or in a sense that like I don't care or that I don't think this client is important. I do mean that you can't be super precious about what we're doing here. Do the work, move on, because spending 30 minutes on a 30-second audition, this is less than 20 seconds. Spending 30 minutes on an audition like this, you're going to drive yourself crazy. It's not going to be any better at the end of the day. And there's too much to do. You'll be driving yourself crazy trying to do that. So we're going to turn on our denoise and our declick, and why not our de-esser? I'm feeling a little bit sibilant today. We're going to just call this by the job number, which is 838549. I'm liking my setup here for monitoring the chat. I think it's going to work out. I was a little hesitant about it, but it's looking good, and it doesn't seem to be too disruptive as far as the workflow here. What I was doing before was miserable, but let me actually bring the bit rate on this thing down. There's no reason for that to be on super high. All right, cool. All right, one audition down. Now, on a lot of these, I will admit, I'm not the most diligent. You know, with this gig, we're all self-employed. You are your own business owner, and so you're your own boss. And I will admit to at times being a bit of a lax boss. And that means I don't necessarily get around to doing auditions every single day. Most days I do, but not every single day. And that does mean that some of these, hello, I replied to this. Hello? Am I crazy? Oh, I didn't send it. It's kind of important. 50, select a file. There it is. All that's to say, some of these jobs are going to be a little bit old and crusty. And if there are too many responses ahead of us in line, we're going to skip them because it's extremely unlikely that the client will hear us anyway. So we'll go ahead and just check all of these and just see if that's true for all of these. We might have a short audition day and get right into audiobook narration, which is good because I've got a lot of audiobook work to do. 75 responses ahead of us, 63, 88, 78, 75, 125, 98, and 42. AI Christian movie narrator. Wow. There's a lot of keywords in there that I'm not down for. Okay, let's move on to Voice123. We did one Voices.com audition. Voices is interesting because Voices sends out auditions basically like right when they come in, and it's up to you to be at your workstation, at your desk, ready to take the auditions as they come in. And I insist that that's the same as it is with ACX. If you are really trying to make ACX work for you, you need to have this website up and you need to be refreshing this page multiple times a day. Voices is much the same. You need to be here. You need to be hitting refresh. Like, it does send out an email notification when a new job gets posted here, but there's like a minute between when it hits this feed and when it hits your inbox. You want to be basically hitting submit on your audition before it hits your inbox. Like, that's the dream, because then you know that you're going to be in the first like 2 or 3 submissions. And if your voice match percentage is high enough, which it should be if you've done your homework as far as setting yourself up for success on voices.com, then you can almost guarantee that your voice will at least be heard by the client. And that is the first battle as far as winning jobs. Voice123 works a little bit differently. They send out jobs in tranches, in buckets, if you will, based on where you lie in their algorithm. And you still need to be quick and responsive because there are other people in your bucket when those things go out. But it does tend to be like you'll have a bunch of nothing from Voice123 and then suddenly you'll get like 5 auditions back to back to back. So right now we're going to clear out the things that we know that we're not going to audition for. Anything that there's too many proposals in front of us. Anything here that says looking for a quote. This is my biggest complaint with Voice123 is that clients can basically demand that we be mind readers. And the way that interacts with how the Voice123 algorithm works is terrible in my opinion. Too many proposals here. This is a TTS, that's text to speech. This is AI training. This is bad, bad, bad. You don't want this. It is a career ruiner. Don't get it twisted about this number here. Ooh, $1,500. I'm so excited. That needs to have at least 3 more zeros on it before I'll even consider it. Like, that's how seriously you need to take the AI garbage. Me and all my homies are anti-clanker. Let's see here. Moving through all this stuff. See, even this, 10 grand. No. 10 grand, no, not enough. 100 grand, not enough. Like, because TTS, like you're potentially like ruining your career forever. So the income needs to be enough to like basically provide for you for as long as it takes to build up a completely new career that will be as lucrative as what you're doing now, potentially in voiceover. Everything in voiceover is basically about opportunity cost. You're not getting paid for the labor that you're doing, because frankly, frequently, especially for commercial stuff, you're reading 2 lines, and the live directed session might be 30 minutes. So you're not being paid for your labor. You're being paid for the opportunity cost. You're being paid for what work you can't get because this client has a miniature monopoly on your voice in a given category, in a given market, or what have you. That's why the big bucks come in with voiceover. For stuff that's purely online or internal, like this kind of stuff, a sales meeting kickoff video, this thing's going to get played once. There's going to be a limited audience in the room, and it'll never get played again. It might live on some website somewhere, but no one's going to watch it. And that's why we've got a low budget here. But as far as the actual time spent, labor, $200, sure. You can have a couple minutes of my time for $200, sure. But there's no opportunity cost here. I'm not giving up the opportunity to make a bunch of money based on a market or whatever have you. So that's why they're not paying a ton of money. And that's how it goes. So let's stop yapping and start reading here. Greatness doesn't just happen. It's not a stroke of luck or a matter of chance. Greatness starts with a decision to show up, to push harder, to aim higher. It starts with the first call of the day, the first handshake, the first solution delivered to someone who needs it most. Greatness is built in... Let's go ahead and do punch and roll here. Delivered to someone who needs it most. Greatness is built in the moments no one sees, in the miles traveled, in the late nights preparing, in the early mornings. Let's reread that. Delivered to someone who needs it most. Greatness is built in the moments no one sees, in the miles traveled. Let's get this interpretation right. No one sees, in the miles traveled, in the late nights preparing, in the early mornings hustling. It's built when we listen, when we solve, when we go beyond what's expected. When we go beyond what's expected. But greatness doesn't happen alone. It happens when we work together, when we share accountability. It happens when we work together, when we share accountability, celebrate wins, and learn from challenges. It happens when we set the standard. It happens. Wins and learn from challenges. It happens when we set the standard. Really sibilant here. And learn from challenges. It happens when we set the standard and then exceed it. When we lead with purpose. When we commit to something bigger than ourselves. This is where greatness begins. With every call, every connection, every commitment to excellence. Great starts with us. Right here. All right. So we're going to edit. Really important thing to note here. So I was doing proper punch and roll recording here. Every time I made a mistake, I stopped recording and I went back to an edit point of my choosing, and I started recording again with a pre-roll that let me sort of narrate with myself for a second. If you've done any audiobook work at all, you've probably heard of punch and roll. Hopefully you've given it a shot and realized how amazing it is and what a game changer it is. This just shows that punch and roll is super valuable even for shorter form stuff. The great thing about punch and roll, which you just saw there, I didn't have to listen to any of my edit points. I am confident enough in my punch and roll technique and in my editing ability and in my eyeballs that I know that this thing is good to go as is. So I'm going to activate my denoise stuff. Bounce, and we're going to call this, we're just going to name it after the client, 281454. Accept the invite. All that looks good. And this is so annoying. Yep, confirmed. So Voice123 is doing an annoying thing right now. If you're on Voice123, if you can confirm this, when you first accept a job, I don't have the ability to upload my audition. It lets me choose a sample from existing work, but that's for dummies. I don't want to do that. I want to upload my custom audition. I have to refresh this page, and there it is. I can upload the custom audition. So that's confirmed. That's multiple days now that this has been going on. This is a new behavior, a very annoying behavior. Confirmed that it worked. Greatness doesn't. There it is. Okay. Submit. Really obnoxious that is a new thing that's happening here. But whatever. That's life on Voice123. It's pretty clear that they do not use their own website, at least from the talents side of things. Pretty annoying from time to time. Someday they're going to just kick me off the platform because I'm always talking shit. Okay. This voice the DSA. Wait. What DSA? Distinguished Scientist. Okay. I was like, all right, this is an ad for Mom Donnie. Let's go. All right. Distinguished Scientist Award. Okay, so this is like a Voice of God type thing. Does it say Voice of God anywhere? No, but that's kind of what it is, but it's more like it's probably just a video that'll play at the beginning of this conference. Voice of God is, you've been to events and you've heard this. It's like, the event will begin in 10 minutes. Please take your seats. Like that kind of stuff. So this isn't explicitly the Voice of God type of job. This is more, like it says, setting the stage. So all this is to say, like, I could like pre-read this entire script and like mark it up and do all this kind of stuff. No. I like to read cold. I like to be surprised because interesting and fun things can happen when you are surprised. But that said, we're just going to go ahead and we're going to read it. Welcome to the 2026 Distinguished Scientist Retreat, a gathering of bright minds united by a bold mission to make a difference. For more than 20 years, the Sontags have been guided by a powerful belief. When we invest boldly in people, we accelerate progress against brain cancer. Their unwavering dedication has resulted in more than $120 million being deployed to advance cutting... Let's pick a better spot to breathe there. Accelerate progress against brain cancer. Their unwavering dedication has resulted in more than $120 million being deployed to advance cutting-edge research, support... Okay. Accelerate progress against brain cancer. Their unwavering dedication has resulted in more than $120 million being deployed to advance cutting-edge research, supporting thousands of patients and families, and building... What is this list about? Okay. Being deployed to advance cutting-edge research, supporting thousands... See, this is like a list with like sub-lists within it, supporting thousands of patients and families, and building... Okay. Yeah. There's... The editor in me wants to like have a discussion about grammar and like how nested lists work and, you know, which gerund is actually starting the list and which is continuing it. But you know what? We're just going to read it as well as we can. Progress against brain cancer. Their unwavering dedication. Progress against brain cancer. Their unwavering dedication has resulted in more than $120 million being deployed to advance cutting-edge research, supporting thousands of patients and families, and building we're going to cut at that breath, supporting thousands of patients and families, and building a one-of-a-kind community where ideas, innovation... Let's slow that down a little bit. Supporting thousands of patients and families, and building a one-of-a-kind community where ideas, innovation, hope, and discovery grow side by side. This retreat is more than an event. More than an event. Discovery grows side by side. This retreat is more than an event. It is a heartfelt celebration of our shared mission to eradicate brain cancer. We gather here to be inspired by our distinguished scientist awardees. All right. I won't be reading this entire script. This is going to run longer than a minute. To eradicate brain cancer. We gather here to be inspired by our distinguished scientist awardees, whose We'll cut at that breath. Our distinguished scientist awardees, whose groundbreaking work offers new hope and life-changing therapies to patients. We are also honored to welcome new scientists into our community, providing them with vital funding, mentorship, and steadfast support, because we deeply believe in their potential to transform lives. We're going to cut it there. For commercial voiceover, 50 to 60 seconds. That's what they get for an audition. If it's a callback situation or if there are some kind of extenuating circumstances, sure, you might give them a little bit more, but otherwise, nah. You get 50 to 60 seconds. Audiobooks are different. It's a much longer project. It's a much, bigger relationship that you're establishing. And so 3 to 5 minutes is the industry standard there. But for commercial, chances are this client is going to know if they like my voice within the first 3 seconds. So giving them 90 seconds isn't going to make it more likely that I get hired. That's just wasting my time and yours. So let's turn on our denoiser. We're just going to call it DSA, retreat, sure. Accept the invite. This time it showed up first try. Very good. Here it is. And submit. Make those inactive. And that may be the end of our regular voiceover auditions. Let's take a look here. Those have already been submitted. Nothing here. We'll hit refresh just in case. Let's take a look at ACX real quick, shall we? Hydrate. Drink of champions. All right, let's refresh this page. So, I've got very few filters on right now. For gender, I've got male and gender neutral selected. For project length, I've got everything selected. For genre, I have everything except for erotica selected. I'm not really interested in reading it. I have a feeling most people wouldn't be interested in me reading it into their ears. And then, most important one, budget. This is the bucket that I work in, the 200 to 400. Various folks on the Facebook group will browbeat you if you even consider taking anything less than $250 per finished hour. I get it, but I also get trying to charge that when your portfolio consists of 0 audiobooks. Like, there's some tension there, and if you can't acknowledge that, then I don't know what planet you're living on, but that's not the reality of people who are really trying to break into this and make things work. The competition isn't me versus some new narrator who's willing to get their first book for $50 an hour. That's not my competition. My competition is, I don't even view other narrators at my level as my competition. The competition, friends, is clankers. It's not strong competition yet because listeners hate it. The research shows that listeners hate it, but it's coming. But yeah, someone making $50 an hour, that's not my competition. I wish you the best. I hope that we can lift you up and we can all be better professionals together. So that's my spiel on the folks working down here in these really miserable rates down here. And the reason I say it's not my competition is sort of twofold. Number one, these are bad projects. They're going to be worse, like it's going to have worse writing. They're going to have worse cover art. They're going to have worse editing. Just like if they're willing to skimp so hard on a narrator, think of all the other corners that they've cut along the way. They've cut corners on an editor. They've cut corners on training themselves to be better writers. Like, it's just very likely that that's the case. When I got started, I read some stinkers. Nowadays, I work at a professional rate and I read professional books. I read good stuff. I'm excited to read the books that I get. When I started, it was a slog, I tell you that. Anyway, like I said, when you first get started, there's more projects at these lower budgets, and your competition isn't going to be as strong. So if you know your stuff, if you've done the work, if you've gone through every single link on narratorsroadmap.com, then you're going to be better prepared to get some of these jobs. And it's going to be a slog. You're not going to be making a great hourly rate as far as like time for your labor. But you'll get there. If you push through, if you're diligent about auditioning, filling your pipeline until your pipeline is so full that it's self-sustaining, you can do this. That said, let's take a look at. So I can tell you right away, I will not be auditioning for any audiobooks today because my pipeline is so full. I couldn't take, even if my agent sent, well, I would audition for something if my agent sent it to me, and I would hope I wouldn't book it. But I'm just so busy with audiobooks. I'm booked months and months out, that taking any new projects would harm my relationship with my existing clients because they'd have to get pushed out, and that I don't want to do that. I like my clients. I like my authors that I work for, and I want to work for them. So, but that said, we'll look at some of these auditions. We'll talk about what I would audition for if I was hungry, and why or why not. Currently, there are 11 projects in this feed right now. Some of these are super old. You don't want to audition for old stuff. Christmas, anything, honestly, being there the same day sometimes isn't enough. I've talked to rights holders. They can get over 100 auditions, especially at the higher budgets. They'll get over 200 auditions. Remember, I said 3 to 5 minutes for an audiobook audition is standard. So if you're audition number 120, that is hours and hours and hours of audio in the queue in front of you. You're never going to get heard. So you got to be quick. You got to be quick with your actual mechanical process of getting the audition, hitting record, narrating it, editing it, turning it around to where you can hit upload. And you got to be quick because you have to be sitting here at your desk ready to see the audition and start that process of producing it. It's one of those really unfortunate things to where it's a chicken and egg situation of like, well, I want to quit my day job and do audiobook narration. But if you have a day job, it's hard to get into audiobook narration because so many of these auditions get posted during the day. And if you can't come in to check ACX until 6 or 7 p.m., these auditions are going to be hours and hours old, and they're going to have dozens, if not hundreds, of other people who have gotten in line in front of you. So it's a real bummer. Hopefully you have like some kind of remote work that you can like sneakily take, 10 minutes away from to do an audition. You got to figure out how to make it work. If you're a stay-at-home parent, bribe your children to like, hey, you need to be dead silent for the next 10 minutes so that mommy or daddy can do this audition. Like whatever it is. If I book this audition, I'll buy you a Switch 2. I don't know what my parents out there can chime in. I feel for you for sure. But that is to say, looking at these auditions, some of these January 13th, that's 4 days ago. That's too old. This one was posted yesterday. That's really too old, but let's take a look at it and just see how we feel. First of all, this cover looks good. Looks fine. It might be AI, or maybe it's AI assisted, but nowadays that's kind of the world we live in. But it is a decent looking cover. The text looks good. Like, it's not all like Comic Sans or Papyrus. Like, it's a real cover. You should be judging a book by its cover during this process because clients do as well. Okay, we got some basic information here, yada yada. Let's look at the download script. Ba, ba, ba. We've got character notes from the author. That's great. You'll love to see that. And it looks like this. Okay. So this audition might end up being a little, well, this actually might be right at 5 minutes. I'll say right now, it looks like they've done a really good job preparing this audition, unless they're looking for dual narration. Let me double check that. They are looking for duet narration. So this is an entirely different animal. If you have a narrating partner, or if you on the Facebook group you think you can find a narrating partner, then awesome, rock and roll, more power to you. I do know that occasionally posts get made like, hey, I'm this gender, I'm looking for the other gender, so that this project can move forward, and that's a potential way to pick up work if the dual narration is something that you're interested in. I've produced one, and I've got two in my production queue to produce, and that's where I'm acting as the primary producer on the project. Usually someone is going to take that role of the primary producer. Typically that person's going to be narrating roughly half the chapters or half the text. Hopefully it's split out chapter by chapter rather than like line by line. If it's line by line, that's a lot of extra work. Hopefully it's chapter by chapter. The one that I've produced and the two that are coming are all from the same author, and it is chapter by chapter. There might be one or two where it like breaks in the middle of the chapter, but it's like giant blocks, almost like two chapters within one. But all that said, this looks like a good approach. Like animal voice, it's not clear who they want narrating the animal voice. Maybe both narrators will give it a shot. But they want the male voice reading this section of the audition, the female voice reading this section of the audition. And it looks like there's multiple characters in conversation. We've got a fun little section here in Spanish. That's great. A nice little test here. Amor ven aquí. Can you pronounce that? Es tu folla? Oh, that's... very interesting. This looks like a fun project. If you've got a narrating partner, like this is absolutely something that I would say go for it. Try to get this job. Good length of book. Nothing under 3 hours. Generally speaking, you want to avoid projects under 3 hours. Usually those things are like, people have different phrases or words for them. I call them brochures. Like that's not an audiobook. That's a brochure. It's an audio pamphlet. It's not. It's a podcast. And the reason you want to be hesitant about taking a lot of projects under 3 hours, unless they are children's books, and like children's books are a thing that you want to do, I will say that's a hard road, because not a lot of quality children's books come through ACX. Most of the stuff that comes through ACX that looks like a children's book, they're usually just pure AI slop garbage, and it pays terrible. But whatever, if that's what you want to try, that's probably how you're going to have to start, frankly. But I do think that a lot of the like good paying children's book work, I think that tends to stay like in some kind of production house. I think they've got a roster. I think it's a much more closed off sub-industry within the audiobook world. And I don't have much more advice to offer because children's books, not really my thing. So we're going to call that done on ACX. I think it's fine to just say, hey, that's what's out there right now. But I do like to do this to provide some pushback on the notion that ACX is dead. There's nothing on ACX. You can't make a living as an audiobook narrator. You can't get your start on ACX anymore. You got to do something else. I disagree. And I tell you, I love Scott Brick and Johnny Heller and all of those, the legends of the industry. Love those people. But their advice for new narrators, you got to take it with a grain of salt, because when they got started, ACX wasn't a thing. when they got started, like, the internet practically wasn't a thing. When they got started, they were mailing physical cassettes in some cases, and in other cases, maybe CDs at some point. They were mailing physical tapes, one way or another, physical media to production companies, to publishing houses, saying like, hey, this is my demo. Send me some books on tape to read. That's how those folks got started. If you are looking to get started today in the year of our Lord 2026, you need to be talking with people who have gotten their start in this modern world. Post-COVID, ideally. There's a lot of us that didn't get started until after COVID. I'm one of them. And I got started 100% on ACX. Every client that I have that is a long-standing, returning client, I got them all through ACX. All of them, I'll fully be like straight up, all of them are at $250 per finished hour or above, with one exception, and that is because it was one of my very, very first clients that I ever got, and they started with me when I was a much less skilled narrator. And as my skill has grown, they have acknowledged that, and the rate has grown. The series has grown itself as well, like the author's readership has grown and everything, so they've been able to afford to pay me more. And we're even talking about me going back and like re-narrating the first book because I have gotten that much better that it's like, maybe we need to give people a better on-ramp into the series than the way I read the first book. But hey, that's how it goes. But that's all to say. ACX can work. You have to treat the auditioning part of ACX like a job until you don't have time for it anymore. I'm so busy with audiobook work now, and again, it's all from ACX. I get auditions from my agent. And again, you don't need an agent for audiobooks. I have a commercial voiceover agent who occasionally will be like, hey, I've got this audiobook. Do you want to audition for it? And that's what I'll audition for. And I've done a few of those books. And honestly, I'm not gonna talk details. Suffice it to say, they were cool projects because of the publishers I got to work with. It sort of long-term has potentially opened some doors that might lead to even cooler places. But they were good projects for sure, and they sort of matched my background, and that's kind of why it worked out. Anyway, let's quit yapping and let's start narrating, because we've looked through voices.com, voice123.com, double checking the feeds, and we've yapped about ACX. So I'm just going to close those all together. We're going to open up our audiobook project. All right. And this is really fun. This is exciting. I mentioned early in the stream that I have solved some issues with my chat display. So the only thing that's going to change here as far as your experience, dear viewer, is that you're not going to be able to see what I'm reading like you were when I was doing the voiceover auditions. And that is because of basically like one of the stipulations for my rights holders / authors when I read for them is that I'm not going to show like the full text. There are sometimes annotations. There are like publishing markers and things in there. Sometimes these aren't always like completely finished products that I'm narrating off of. And obviously, I want to be kind to my rights holders. I'll only show show their best face, if you know what I'm saying. Let's talk about this project that we're about to narrate. First of all, it is book 15 or 16 in the USS Hamilton series. This book is called USS Crusader, and it follows the exploits of Captain Galvin Quintos as he gallivants through the universe with his intrepid crew of the U.S. Space Navy, getting into all kinds of trouble and hijinks. This note on potential content warning type stuff. This series has like some like a rated PG-13 approach to profanity. Like occasionally there's an F-bomb here or there. Otherwise, like the language doesn't delve too deeply. It's not gratuitous. It's not over the top. It's not gruesome. It's not. There's no like slurs or anything like that. The descriptions of violence are generally like pretty straightforward. They're not gruesome and gory. Usually in this series, when people die, it's because their spaceship exploded. So there's not a lot of detail as far as like the individual suffering or anything like that. There are in this particular book recollections of some physical violence that happened in a character's past. We've already narrated what I believe is to be like the meat of those recollections, some of which can be troubling for people who might have sensitivities like that. If during our narration, if looking ahead, it appears that we're coming up on something like that, I will either do like a separate content warning at that time, or I might just skip it for the stream. But suffice to say, you're not going to have anything coming at you like against your will if you're on the stream here. This is going to be for real narration. Like, I'm not doing this just for show, just for the stream. Like, this is for real, which means I'm going to be doing punch and roll narration, and I'm going to be on the clock, as it were. I've got my my little productivity sheet here, so you can see how I actually work. We're going to be on chapter 9. My Excel spreadsheet is smart. Let's actually need to move this cell so that it actually is smart rather than purely predictive based on past performance. Let's make it predictive based on current performance. Double checking. Yes, it is. Okay. So this spreadsheet learns as I go. So this next chapter should take me about 15 minutes to narrate. Today, I'd like to get through, if on stream, if I can get through these next 4 chapters. It'll be a little bit over an hour of actual narrating, depending on how much yapping I do in between and during these chapters. It'll probably take longer than that. We'll probably be here another 2 hours, I'll say that. If I need to open this door because it gets a little too hot in my booth, I am up in Maine, but my climate control in here does, the temperature tends to do this depending on how much I open that door. So we might need to like narrate 2 chapters, open the door, during which time we'll probably edit some of this other stuff and then go from there. But all that to say, I'll do one last check to see if there's any yapping going on. And we're gonna get to work. Again, I've got chat both on Twitch and on YouTube, like right in my periphery. I'm narrating right here, chat's right here. So if you've got something to say, I would love to have an excuse to take a break from narrating. Let's see here. Which screen do I want up? Let's keep this screen up. Double checking that my timer is working. Cool. All right. We're jumping in on chapter 9. Trying to context here. Captain Quintos is an experienced, decorated commander of many storied naval vessels, space naval vessels, spaceships. And during this book, he's sort of gotten some trouble in the last book, and so he's being punished by being made to captain this sort of glorified, basically a cruise ship with full of spoiled, rich passengers. But of course, things have gone wrong, and his ship is potentially under attack, and all kinds of things are going wrong during what is supposed to be an otherwise uneventful journey. So we're jumping in chapter 9 of USS Crusader. And the series, by the way, is by Mark Wayne McGinnis. Highly recommend checking it out. 2 other narrators were involved in the series before me. Both excellent narrators. John Cronin, I think, was the first one. And then, oh God, I'm friends with him on Facebook. Anyway, 2 very talented narrators, and then I got picked up on book 8 or 9, and I've had the series for the last 8 or 9 books. So it's been a fun journey. Let's get into it. Chapter 9. Liberty World System. Approaching the exoplanet Topiaris. USS Crusader. Approaching the exoplanet Topiaris. USS Crusader. Flight Bay 2. Captain Galvin Quintos. The red giant filled the viewport. We had arrived. Liberty World System. Let's read that better. And filled the viewport. We had arrived. Liberty World System. 10 billion years old, dying slowly, bathing the bridge in fire-brick light that made everything appear blood-soaked. Topiaris hung there. Third planet. Blue-green jewel against the star's bloody glow. Ocean sparkled. Continents visible through swirling clouds. From here, it looked like paradise. From here, everything looked better than... From here, it looked like paradise. From here, everything looked better than it was. Helm... Okay. Wasn't sure who was speaking here. Everything looked better than it was. Helm, standard orbit, I said. Comms, hail Liberty Station for clearance. Grimes worked his board. Approaching optimal orbital insertion, sir. Nella has the calculations locked. Paxton's fingers moved across her display. Hailing Liberty Station. Paxton's fingers moved across her display. Hailing Liberty Station now, Captain. Through the view... Hailing Liberty Station now, Captain. Through the viewport, I could see the station's docking arms extending. Premium berths reserved for VIP arrivals. Bromley's welcoming committee was probably already assembled in the observation lounge, champagne chilling. I dropped into the captain's mount. My scarred thumb throbbed. Bad sign. Always a bad sign. The overhead hat-band viewport showed me what we were flying into. 50-plus contacts in orbital space. Navy dreadnoughts. Civilian 50-plus contacts in orbital space. Navy dreadnoughts, civilian transports, construction vessels, cargo haulers. Let's read there. Navy dreadnoughts, civilian transports. Where are we? Navy dreadnoughts, civilian transports, construction vessels, cargo haulers, all circling Topiaris like flies on a carcass. Paxton looked up. Topiaris like flies on a carcass. Paxton looked up from comms. Sir, Liberty Station is responding. They're offering immediate priority docking clearance for Governor Bromley. VIP reception prepared. Estimated docking time? Pardon me. All right. VIP reception prepared. VIP reception prepared. Estimated docking time, 30 minutes. 30 minutes, I repeated. That's fast. Yes, sir. They're bumping 3 cargo haulers to accommodate us. Grimes muttered something under his breath that sounded like, of course they are. Ms. Kemp, what's our traffic situation? Margot Kemp pulled up logistics data. 53 contacts in orbital space, 26 military, 27 civilian. Traffic control just cleared a priority corridor for us. It's tight, Captain, but manageable. Dorota spoke without looking up from his science station. Galvin, I'm detecting something unusual about Topiaris. Atmospheric scans showing... Topiaris. Atmospheric scans show active terraforming... Let's get that better. Topiaris. Atmospheric scans show active terraforming nanites in the cloud layer. High concentrations. Define high. Beyond maintenance levels, these nanites are actively working, modifying atmospheric composition, regulating temperature, managing weather patterns. He looked at me. The terraforming process should have... come on. Weather patterns. He looked at me. The terraforming process should have stopped centuries ago. My face tightened. But it didn't. No, it's still going. The planet seems to be maintaining itself, actively. That pulled at something in my brain. Terraformed worlds didn't do that. Once the process finished, the nanites deactivated, became inert, fell into the oceans, and decayed. They didn't keep working. Could be a malfunction, I said. Nanite protocols corrupted over time. Possibly, but Galvin, the distribution pattern is too uniform, too purposeful, like something's coordinating them. Log it. We'll pass it to the colonial science teams. Already logged. Let's reread that. Log it. We'll pass it to the colonial science teams. Already logged. Topiaris grew larger in the viewport. I could see individual storm systems now. Mountain ranges, vast forests. See individual storm systems now. Mountain ranges, vast forests. Come on. See individual storm systems. See individual storm systems now. Mountain ranges, vast forests. 3 continents covered in green. Several halo displays. 3 continents covered in green. Several halo displays provided a visual montage of the planetary surface, like something from a tourism brochure. This world was breathtaking. Of course, the alien domes that had made all this possible were invisible, buried under centuries of soil and overgrowth. 18,000 of them scattered across the surface, and I couldn't see a single one. I glanced over to Dorota. I need to check something. I think my timer... Oh, yeah, that's so annoying. Okay, we need to open up... My timer will forget... You're going to get a look behind the curtain here. My timer will forget... resume on click. There we go. Let's check it. There we go. Okay. I guess on the different pages, let's make sure that this is the same on every page. Okay. Okay. Interesting. They act as different instances. So I use a Stream Deck. I've got the Stream Deck XL. It gives me all these little hot buttons that I can do fun stuff with. But my timer, it's supposed to be like a start, stop, rather than a start, stop, and reset. Start, stop, and reset. But it was resetting when I didn't want it to. So we're going to estimate adding on 6 minutes, maybe 6.5 minutes here from where I restart here. I glanced over to Dorota. Where are we in the text again? There we go. Here we go. Starting the timer. And I couldn't see a single one. I glanced over to Dorota, currently manipulating. I couldn't see a single one. I glanced over to Dorota, currently manipulating a small projected 3D display hovering above his control board. Clearly, he was not interested in the exoplanet's beauty. He was focused on the ship's sensors, studying the dome's positions, geometric... He was focused on the ship's sensor. Where are we? He was focused on the ship's sensors, studying the dome's... He was focused on the ship's sensors, studying the dome's positions, geometric patterns too precise to be natural. They showed up like heat signatures, 3 degrees warmer than the surrounding terrain. My TAC band vibrated, immediately followed by a projected message from Nella hovering above my wrist. Priority 1 message incoming from Earth. Sender, Captain Gail Pristy. Message downloading. Estimated completion. Gail Pristy. Message downloading. Estimated completion, 52 minutes. My chest tightened. Priority 1 from the ranch. Nothing ever happened at the ranch. That's why we bought it. 52 minutes. Bromley wanted his yacht launched in 30. Bought it. 52 minutes. Bromley wanted his yacht launched in 30. I stared at the message. Bromley wanted his yacht launched in 30. I stared at the message, running the numbers. Even if I stalled, delayed every procedure, the download wouldn't finish before I had to leave. And once planetside, atmospheric interference will kill any chance of receiving it for hours. Ms. Paxton, route that to my ready room the second it's complete. If I'm gone, get it to me through any channel you can manage. Yes, sir. She hesitated. Sir, it sounds I know, Ensign, I know. My jaw tightened. But Bromley's given me 30 minutes, and that message needs 52. We're doing a little mini edit. There. Okay. Let's reread this. Ensign, I know. My jaw tightened. Ensign, I know. My jaw tightened. But Bromley... Ensign, I know. My jaw tightened. But Bromley's given me 30 minutes... Given. I know. My jaw tightened. But Bromley's given me 30 minutes, and that message needs 52. Whatever Gale needed to tell me was urgent enough. I'm getting a spam call, everybody. A random Houston number. Okay. We're going to start here. 30 minutes, and that message needs 52. Whatever Gale needed to tell me was urgent enough to send across light years, and I was about to fly planetside without knowing what it was. The auto hatch opened. Bromley strode in, silk robe replaced by what looked like an explorer's outfit. Khaki, leather boots, wide-brimmed hat, video droids orbiting like gnats. We're about to narrate the most fun character in this whole book. Oh, Bromley. Villains are always the most fun to voice. Bromley isn't he's not the villain, he's not the antagonist, but he is a bit of a villain. But he's just he's a pompous ass. And that's one of my favorite kinds of characters to narrate. So we're going to have some fun. We're going to sink our teeth in. Here's a free little tip for anybody out there. Ice drops. If you are a narrator, or if you've got a narrator in your life and you want to give them a little gift, ice drops. The main ingredient, is it erythritol? I think that's the thing that does it. Sorbitol, something. There's an artificial sweetener in here that it will basically eliminate dry mouth. It's not a permanent solution or anything, but yeah, get you all ready to go. So let's get into the lovely Governor Bromley here. Where am I? Video droids orbiting like gnats. Here we go. Video droids orbiting like gnats. Captain Quintos, wonderful news. Liberty Station has rolled out the red carpet for us. He smiled for the cameras. But I've decided to decline their generous offer. I blinked. Sir? 30 minutes of docking procedures. Ceremony. Just making sure I didn't peek there. I was very loud. I blinked. Sir? 30 minutes of docking procedures, ceremonial greetings on a space station, handshakes with bureaucrats. He waved dismissively. That's not how history will remember moments like this. The people are waiting planetside, Captain. My destiny isn't in some orbital platform. It's down there. He pointed at Topiaris. I want my yacht launched immediately. First ship to touch colonial soil. First boots on the ground. That's the image that goes in the history books. Governor, there are 20 civilian craft queued ahead of yours in Flight Bay 2. Standard departure sequence. Then you'll order your flight crew to move them. Clear a path for my yacht. He smiled for the cameras. He smiled for the cameras. I'm certain those passengers will understand the importance of allowing their governor to arrive first. It's a matter of protocol. Of respect for the office. Sir, repositioning that many ships will take 30 minutes, Captain. That's how long you have to clear my launch corridor and get my yacht planetside. His eyes narrowed. Unless you'd prefer I contact Admiral Gilbert directly and explain why you're obstructing the colonial governor's lawful orders? My jaw spasmed. I counted to 3. He's going to make me move 20 ships so his ego... spasmed. I counted to 3. He's going to make me move 20 ships so his ego can launch first. I'll contact Flight Bay Operations immediately. Excellent. I knew you'd see reason. He turned to his video droids. Captain Quintos, always supportive when it matters most. A true professional. He left. The auto hatch closed behind him. Grimes turned in his seat. Sir, permission to... Denied. Whatever you were about to suggest is denied. I was just going to say the governor's... Also denied. Paxton cleared her throat. Sir, about that Priority 1 message? It'll have to wait, Ensign. She shifted in her seat. Once you're planet-side, ship-to-surface communications will be spotty at best. I've been monitoring chatter... Surface communications will be spotty at best. I've been monitoring chatter... Surface communications will be spotty at best. I've been monitoring chatter... Oh my god. Surface communications will be spotty at best. I've been monitoring chatter from the surface. Atmospheric interference is causing problems. Could be the hours... Atmospheric interference is causing problems. Could be hours before I can provide you with that message from Captain Pristy. And an open channel back to Earth? That would be impossible. If you could delay leaving for even a few minutes... Bromley will have me court-martialed if I don't do as he asks. And with me in the brig, we have zero chance of surviving this. We go now. I stood. Mr. Grimes, you have the bridge. Captain Ryder will maintain overall ship command while I'm gone. Grimes went pale. Sir, I gripped his shoulder. You've got this. Ooh. Sir, I gripped his shoulder. You've got this. Nothing's going to happen. Standard orbit, routine offload. We'll be back. Standard orbit, routine offload. We'll be back in 3 days. Yes, sir. He didn't look convinced. Neither was I. But orders were orders. Even stupid ones from governors who cared more about camera angles than... Oh, come on. It's always the last line in the chapter. But orders were orders. Even stupid ones from governors who cared more about camera angles than common sense. Cool. That is that chapter done. Okay. Let's mark our time here. I'm adding 6.5 minutes to what I have marked there, which makes it 7. That's 14:08. Oops. 14:08. Cool. All right. I'm feeling good. We're going to move on to our next chapter. Is that just... Yeah, it's just the height that's causing that. Cool. Small. Back. We're going to go right into chapter 10. How long have we been live for? Let's close the stream deck there. We have been live for just over an hour. Perfect. Oh, this is going to work out great. Let's double check any other yada yadas here. Any yada yadas? All right. No, we're looking good. We're looking good. We're looking good. Okay. And I've not knocked the mic with my hat yet today. Definitely jinxing myself with that. All right. Next chapter, where are we? We're still with Captain Quintos on the ship, which is great. This chapter will be slightly longer, coming in at roughly 19.5 minutes. I've been reading pretty well today, though, so we'll see if that holds. I want to double check to make sure that my tablet is accurately rendering any potential chat. It does look like things are working correctly. So that's good to know. Let's do it. All right. Chapter 10. Flight Bay 2. The bay smelled like hydraulic fluid and too many unwashed bodies. The crew had been working non-stop, doing their best to ensure that the governor's orders were carried out. We're going to do a mid-sentence cut here. Non-stop, doing their best to ensure that the governor's orders... Actually, I missed that, I think. The crew had been working non-stop, doing their best to ensure that the governor's orders were carried out without delay. Passengers everywhere, streaming in and out of shuttles, well-dressed elites boarding their personal craft, bay crew personnel in their standard-issue blue overalls, not coveralls. Elites boarding their personal craft, bay crew personnel in their standard-issue blue overalls, elites boarding their personal craft, bay crew personnel in their standard-issue blue overalls, directing traffic like they were herding cattle. Designer luggage Okay, come on. Directing traffic like they were herding cattle. Designer luggage followed them on floating cargo platforms. Okay, I need to make sure I'm pronouncing these brands. So, Louis Vuitton, Louis Vuitton. Vuitton. I'm pretty sure that's how you say that. And then, is that Hermès? There are two brands that are spelled pretty similarly, but I want to make absolutely sure. So we're going to bring up Forvo. This is a super useful tool. If you do any kind of voiceover or narrating, you want to have Forvo in your list of bookmarks, or at least just mentally bookmarked here. So we're going to say Louis Vuitton. Just to make sure I'm saying this right. We're going to check this one.
Louis Vuitton.
I'm going to check this so that you should be able to hear this.
Louis Vuitton.
Louis Vuitton, sure. And then we want to check with the accent. Oops, not translation. Oh, come on. Okay, English.
Hermès.
Hermès.
Hermes.
I don't trust that. Next is Youglish, also a great resource. This website is like people from around the world we'll hear the French. Hermès. People from around the world submitting a recording. Youglish basically scans all of YouTube's closed captioning to like find the term that you've searched. And so you'll find much more like natural, like in context pronunciations of the word or phrase that you're looking for. Let's look for it without.
Now the first one is this one. Oh, what a gorgeous brand. I've always wanted one of their fancy belts. I've never been able to justify one though.
Are you going to say it?
This one, I used to pronounce it Hermes, but upon doing my research, I found out that it should be pronounced Hermes.
Hermes.
Well, I didn't want to focus too heavily on Hermes.
I don't think. Okay.
Blackberries collapse. What I think they're not focusing on is this is like Chanel or it's like Hermes or something like that.
Hermes, sure. Multiple sources, Hermes, so Louis Vuitton and Hermes. Cool. I was pretty sure that was correct for both of those, but it's important to do some checking. So let's get back to work. Directing traffic like they were herding cattle. Designer luggage followed them on floating cargo platforms. Louis Vuitton, Hermes, brands that had stood the test of time. Some passengers wore their party attire like armor, gowns that couldn't possibly be practical planet-side, tuxedos already collecting hydraulic fluid stains from the deck. At the bay's far end, the energy barrier glowed soft blue. Beyond that shimmer, vacuum, 450 degrees below zero. Below zero? Beyond that shimmer, vacuum, 450 degrees below zero. Instant death. The flight bay was below zero. Instant death. The flight bay was becoming more chaotic by the second. Passengers were now scattered about, most of them wearing party hats. Noisemakers blared. This was what 3,200 civilians with too much money and too little common sense looked like when preparing for a land rush. Someone had set up a Someone had set up a champagne fountain, an actual fountain flowing bubbly in a U.S. Space Navy. Okay. When preparing for a land rush, someone had set up a Someone had set up a champagne fountain, an actual fountain flowing bubbly in a U.S. Space Navy flight bay. Someone had strung up banners in a U.S. Space Navy flight bay. Someone had strung up banners. Liberty Worlds, manifest destiny awaits. Colors everywhere. Purple, gold, green, like Mardi Gras exploded in a military hangar. Groups clustered around shuttles, drinking champagne from plastic flutes and laughing too loudly. The land rush started in 3 days. 72 hours to stake claims on virgin territory. Get rich or die trying. They were already celebrating. A woman in a feathered mask danced past, confetti trailing behind her. a man in a top hat blew a horn in my face. My ears caught the sound of engines spooling up, people shouting, organized chaos that was one panic away from becoming actual chaos. I stopped, took in the vessel several yards in front of me. That is a took in the vessel several yards in front of me. That is a warship. Was a warship. I moved through the crowd, duffel over my shoulder, heading for rebellion. My ship, scarred from a dozen missions, hole patched in 3 places, drives older than some of my crew, but reliable, always reliable. Hardy was already there, checking weapons systems. Z9 hovered nearby. Viv loaded medical supplies into the cargo hold. She never went anywhere without enough gear to treat a small contingent of troops. Max Dreyer stood near the boarding ramp with 5 Marines, Grip, June Sun, Ham, Hawk, and Aubrey Laramie, all checking weapons, all looking eager to get off this floating resort for the spoiled. Aubrey Laramie, all checking weapons, all looking eager to get off this floating resort for the spoiled. Hardy said, "Cap, Rebellion's ready. Drives are warm. Weapons hot. She'll fly. Also ready? Flight brew... Ready. Drives are warm. Weapons hot." Let's reread the whole thing. I'm liking it. Hardy said, "Cap, Rebellion's ready. Drives are warm. Weapons hot. She'll fly. Also ready. Flight bay crews resignation... come on. She'll fly. Also ready. Flight bay crews... Come on. A little too loud. Well, I love this character. Weapons hot. She'll fly. Also ready. Flight bay crews resignation letters after you made them play musical chairs with 20 civilian ships. Good. Chairs with 20 civilian ships. Good. Let's get the passengers on board their respective vessels and make sure our crew is all aboard Rebellion. Just waiting on Bromley's yacht. And make sure our crew is all aboard Rebellion. Just waiting on Rebellion. What am I doing here? Make sure our crew is all aboard Rebellion. Just waiting on Bromley's yacht taxied past us. Pristine white hull, gold trim, ostentatious as hell. His video droids filmed everything, recording his historic descent to the new world. Historic descent to the new world. Behind him, a queue of 20 craft waited, all passenger ships, all blocked by Bromley's theatrical bullshit. I looked down at the deck and bit back a curse. Viv appeared at my elbow. "Quintos, we earned this leave. Let's not waste it with you standing there contemplating your navel." "Funny, maybe you and Hardy can take a comedy routine on the road." She rolled her eyes, returned to... Hardy can take a comedy routine on the road. She rolled her eyes, returned to stowing her... Hardy can take a comedy routine on the road. She rolled her eyes, returned to stowing her medical gear. Max approached, and come on. Eyes returned to stowing her medical gear. Max approached, energy rifle slung over his shoulder. "Marines are locked and loaded. They're loaded and ready, not locked and loaded." Energy rifle slung over his shoulder. "Marines are loaded and ready, sir. Not sure why we're bringing shredder weapons on leave. Sure, standard eye. Marines are loaded and ready, sir. Not sure why we're bringing shredder weapons on leave. Sure, standard sidearms, maybe. Am I correct in assuming this is R&R, not a combat drop?" "I'm simply being overly cautious. Let your team know I want them to be able to relax." Come on. "I'm simply being overly cautious. Let your team know I want them to be able to relax." "Roger that," Max said, heading off to join his team. Someone set off confetti cannons. Purple and gold streamers rained down across the flight bay. A cheer went up from the crowd of passengers. My tack brand. A cheer went up from the crowd of passengers. My tack band vibrated. Grimes. "Captain, bridge is secure. Primary stations manned. Nella reports green across the board." "Good. Stay vigilant, Mr. Grimes. Captain Ryder's on board for overall ship command if anything comes up." "Understood, sir. We've handled worse than orbital traffic management." True. Grimes had commanded during combat situations, wormhole ambushes, hostile intercepts. This was routine by comparison. 3 days, Mr. Grimes. Keep her safe. Yes, sir. Enjoy your leave. Viv was already boarding Rebellion. Quintos, you coming? Viv was already boarding Rebellion. Quintos, you coming, or are you going to stand there watching the circus all day? Who's talking? Who's talking? Who's talking? Ah, okay. They had another character start speaking, but I didn't find out who it was until a couple lines later. Okay. Viv was already boarding Rebellion. Viv was already boarding Rebellion. Quintos, you coming, or are you going to stand there watching the circus all day? Gallivan, wait! Dorota sprinted through the crowd, duffel bouncing on his shoulder, 3D tablet clutched in both hands. He dodged an inebriated passenger and nearly collided with a video droid, but he kept running. He reached me, breathless, eyes wide, excited, almost childlike. Gallivan, I need to come with you. Stefan, what's going on? Earlier you had zero interest. I know, but look at this. He thrust the tablet at me. Holographic data bloomed above the screen. Look at this. He thrust the tablet at me. Holographic data bloomed above the screen. Seismic readings, hundreds of them. Micro-earthquakes happening all across the planet. Topiaris, thousands of them. Well, we know it's Topiaris. That's a strange... Seismic readings, hundreds of them. Micro-earthquakes happening all across the planet. Topiaris, thousands of them. Simultaneous patterns across all 3 continents. I studied the data. The readings were small, magnitude 1.5 to 2.0, barely noticeable. But the distribution was strange, too uniform, too synchronized. Okay. Too uniform, too synchronized. Too uniform, too synchronized. Geological activity on a terraformed world isn't unusual. It's not the activity, Galvin. It's the pattern. Look! He swiped through data screens. They're happening in waves, precise intervals, every 47 minutes, like clockwork. His voice rose with excitement. This could be residual... His voice rose with excitement. This could be residual... His voice rose with excitement. This could be residual terraforming effects, or something in the planet's core, or... He stopped himself. I need to be there. Ground-level readings, seismic sensors. As a scientist, I have to study this. The tablet showed another wave starting. Thousands of micro-tremors across 3 continents. Precise, coordinated. Too precise, too coordinated. But Dorota was right. This was his field, and ground-level data would be valuable. All right, come aboard. And ground-level data would be valuable. All right, come aboard. All right, come aboard. But, Stefan? Yes? Do me a favor. Lose the rumpled lab coat. You're on leave, too. 72 hours of actual rest. You can study seismic data, but you're also going to eat real food and sleep in real gravity and not spend every waking moment staring at that tablet. He grinned. Deal. He hurried up Okay, let's, I did a little, micro long roll. So I'm doing punch and roll here, but sometimes if like the beginning of a sentence or a phrase is like, if I'm just like punching, I'll do a micro long roll just to get through that phrase. And then like in the moment, I'll go back and make the edit so that it's not a disaster later. So, all right. It's that all right. Come aboard. But Stefan? And that's it. It's just that. That's all it is. So boom there. And I'll go ahead and do the crossfade there so that later when I'm editing and I'm tabbing through at this level of zoom, when I hit tab and I see that the micro crossfade is already there, I know that that's an edit that I made in the moment and that edit is already solid and good and I can just move on. Just little things you learn. Something I'm thinking of doing, and I'd love for other folks to chime in and let me know if it would be helpful. I would love to, so obviously this is Pro Tools. I would love to go through and do like a mini like workflow example for punch and roll on all the different like common DAWs for narration. So Reaper, Twisted Wave, Studio One, obviously like Audition has limitations. Audacity, rather, has limitations. I don't think I'll do Audition because that'll involve like dipping my toe into the Adobe world, and I don't want to even try. I don't want to try that. So, but yeah, just because I think on those three, I think I could do what I needed to do within the time frame of a free trial. So I think most of those pieces of software offer between 1 week and 30 days of a trial. I think that's long enough to get in there, figure out the basics of the punch and roll mechanics, as well as like some of the basic like editing functions that I find necessary, or at least efficient to use in Pro Tools, such as tabbing between edits, the way I can tab around, and the way that I can shuttle using the number keys. Stuff like that makes me a very, very fast narrator and editor, at least mechanically, in Pro Tools. So it might be fun to do the same for the various different DAWs that are available out there and that consistently get recommended for newer narrators, and to also be able to sort of like provide a, not necessarily a pros and cons, but just a compare and contrast of what I found easy and accessible for someone who, like me, is more experienced in working these programs versus what might be easier for someone who doesn't necessarily have that context. Be interested if anyone would find that helpful. I just want to refresh this page over here, make sure I'm not missing anything. We got another thing here. That's funny. That's funny. It's funny. Like I've been streaming on and off for a few years, and some voice talent, narrators and commercial voice actors, like when they hear that this is like something that I do pretty frequently, some of them are like, that's super cool, and some of them are like, that's insane. That's the craziest thing I've ever heard. What are you doing? Like, I like it. Like the idea that there's even one other person out there potentially watching, I feel like that makes me a better storyteller, because like I literally am telling the story to someone rather than just being alone in this dark booth talking to myself. I actually am telling this story to someone. So, I'm not saying don't knock it till you try it, because those people aren't necessarily knocking it. But I think if you've got a rights holder who is good with you doing this, then by all means, I think give it a try. It's fun. Let's see here. Deal. Okay. Let's get back into it. We got about another 9 minutes of narration in this chapter, and then we'll probably take an edit break, open that door, let the oxygen and the temperature regulate a little bit in here, and then we'll keep working.
He grinned.
Deal. He hurried up Rebellion's boarding ramp, already absorbed in his data again. I glanced back at the flight bay. Confetti everywhere. Drunken passengers celebrating. Video droids filming Bromley's departure. Chaos masquerading as progress. He'll be fine. They'll all be fine. Standard orbit. Nothing's going to happen. I boarded Rebellion. The interior smelled like home. Metal, oil, and recycled air. The cockpit was cramped but familiar. Every console exactly where I expected. Every display showing green. Hardy made a beeline for the helm station. Z9 hovered nearby. Viv walked over to the viewport. Z9 hovered nearby. Viv walked over to the viewport, waiting for the show to begin, while Dorota headed toward the science station. "This better be worth it," Viv said loud enough for everyone to hear. 72 hours isn't enough. Viv said loud enough for everyone to hear. 72 hours isn't enough. 72 hours isn't enough for the hassle of getting there. Other crew members chimed in. It's Planet... who might that be? Who might that be? Other crew members. Let's see. So this is a case where the author is giving us a little bit of license to pick who's speaking here. It just says other crew members chimed in, and then we've got 1, 2, 3 different people chiming in. So I have to do a mental inventory of who's on the ship. So not Grimes, not Paxton. Do we know if Blunderton is on the ship? Somewhere on Google Drive, I've got a character list for this book, and it's like 80 plus characters. Many of those characters are shaded in red because they've died. So spoiler alert, if you're wanting to start this series from book 1 and you're like, oh, where is character so-and-so? And you haven't heard them, they've somewhere in the last 15 books, they've probably died. This author is brutal and ruthless. Game of Thrones level, like, oh, you love this character? You hope this character sticks around for a long time? Guess what? Dead. All right. Another fun tool, in addition to the ice drops, which I'm going to have in a second, is one of these. This is I'm hesitant to say the brand. I don't want people to think that this is like an ad. I'm not sponsored or anything, but it's a nebulizer, I think is what you call it. But this was a gift. My lady got this for me. The brand is Vocal Mist. You don't have to buy this brand by any means, but yeah, just helps keep everything from drying out too much. The ice drops thing, this was a tip I picked up from Scott Brick. He talks about this. His routine, and of course, Scott Brick is a monster. The dude will narrate for like 8 hours straight. It's insane. Like, his stamina is crazy. But his process, which I've heard him talk about in interviews, is he'll read a page, then he'll take a sip of, like, not super hot, but warm tea, a sip of cool, not freezing water, and then an ice drop. And he will also, he also talked about, like, extremely frequent application of, like, a lip balm of some kind. And, like, part of me wants to be like, bro, that's extra. You're doing too much, Scott. But he's a superstar, so he's got a process, and clearly it's working. So more power to him. And if it works for you, then give it a shot. I live in Maine. I've earned these bloody lips. Other crew members chimed in. Okay, other crew members chimed in. We're just going to do random voices for the people that we know are here. So, other crew members chimed in. Where are we? Here we go. Other crew members chimed in. It's planetside. Real gravity. Real air. Real food. We have gravity on Crusader. Artificial gravity. Doesn't count. Max and his Marines stood at the back of the bridge, their conversational murmurs like white noise in the background, all except Aubrey, who had extensive bridge experience. She had positioned herself at comms. Viv moved from the viewport to the second seat next to Dorota, who was at the science station. I caught Aubrey's eye. How about you let them know we're here? Flight Control, this is Rebellion, Aubrey said, requesting immediate departure clearance. She looked at me, brows raised. I nodded. The Bay Chief's voice came through. Rebellion, you are cleared for departure. Have a good leave, Captain. Copy that. See you in 3 days. Let's reread that. For departure. Have a good leave, Captain. For departure. Have a good leave, Captain. Copy that. See you in 3 days. Beyond the glowing air... come on. Copy that. See you in 3 days. Beyond the glowing energy barrier, Topiaris hung blue, green, and beautiful, waiting. Bromley's yacht launched first. Of course. Had to be first. Had to make the historic descent ahead of everyone. His video droids broadcast the whole thing, probably already composing... narration about pioneering spirit and human destiny and other propaganda bullshit. We waited until he cleared the bay, gave him distance. Then I gave the command for Hardy to launch. Rebellion punched through the bay field. Artificial gravity gave way to free fall for 3 seconds. Then the ship's internal gravity Gravity gave way to free fall for 3 seconds. Then the ship's internal gravity kicked in and everything stabilized. Topiaris grew larger, filled the viewport. Hardy worked the helm display. Optimal descent vector calculated. Nella's providing real-time atmosphere... Come on. Optimal descent vector calculated. Nella's providing real-time atmospheric data. We'll hit some turbulence in the upper mesosphere. Mesosphere or mesosphere? I think it's mesosphere, but this is one of those cases where we're going to use Forvo first. Mesosphere.
Mesosphere.
2 pronunciations. Let's see the British.
Mesosphere.
Ah, see, we have a disagreement. The American says, hold on, let me turn this on.
Mesosphere.
Mesosphere, and the Brit says
Mesosphere.
mesosphere. We're going to do a Merriam-Webster check. Mesosphere. This says
Mesosphere.
mesosphere.
Mesospheric.
Has an alternate with the long E there. Let me show you another fun resource. Can I copy this, please? I can't copy the text inside that. Oh, I can. Okay. Here's a super, super cool resource. If you find, sometimes on like Wikipedia, you'll find, this is IPA, International Phonetic Alphabet. Basically, any sound that the human apparatus, vocal apparatus can make, can be transcribed into IPA. This includes the fricatives that you'll find in Arabic. It'll include the clicks that you find in a lot of African and Native American and Hawaiian languages. And if you get those, you can go to ipareader.com and you can paste it in there. Sometimes you'll have to like clean up whatever you copy and paste. And you can say read.
Mesosphere.
Turn this on again.
Mesosphere.
Mesosphere. Perfect. This website, lifesaver. And it is like, so long as you trust the source. So for example, I am reading an American author. Mark Wayne McGinnis is an American author. All of these characters are American. It should be expected that, especially the character who is speaking, is going to use a standard American pronunciation of this. If this was a British author, or if this character was British, I might prefer a potentially British pronunciation. And so instead of checking Merriam-Webster, I might check the OED. But in this case, Merriam-Webster, and not only do they have
Sphere.
that, but double checking the IPA and confirming an American saying it on Forvo, that's enough sources for me to go, yes, it's absolutely mesospheric. And maybe you're a smarty pants and you knew that to begin with, but sometimes it's worth the peace of mind to double check. Let's see here. Providing real-time atmospheric data. We'll hit. Here we go. Providing real-time atmospheric data. We'll hit some turbulence in the upper mesosphere. Those active nanites Stefan mentioned are. Let's read there. We'll hit some turbulence in the upper mesosphere. Yeah. Let me actually turn this off in case that's causing echo. We'll hit some turbulence in the upper mesosphere. Those active nanites Stefan mentioned are creating unusual wind patterns, but nothing Rebellion can't handle. How long to surface? 22 minutes. Galvin, another seismic wave just started, right on schedule. 47 minutes since the last one, Dorota said. Hardy set the helm controls to auto, let the ship fly herself as since the last one, Dorota said. Hardy set the helm controls to auto, let the ship fly herself as we watched Topiaris approach. The 3 continents of Topiaris were visible now. Mountain ranges, vast forests, oceans reflecting vermilion light from the dying star. Beautiful, untouched, about to be carved up by 3,200 tourists calling it progress. My scarred thumb throbbed harder. And I thought about Pristy's Priority 1 message, still downloading, still incomplete. Whatever she needed to tell me... still downloading, still incomplete. Whatever she needed to tell me was apparently urgent enough to send across light years. I wouldn't receive it for hours now, maybe longer. I tried to push the worry from my mind. Pristy was a seasoned captain in her own right, and she was one hell of a tactical officer. Smart, capable, fierce. If I could choose anyone to be with Sonia in a crisis, it would be Gail. Dot, dot, dot. Little note there. Jimmy, why did you say dot, dot, dot? Not in the text. Hold on, I have to check this edit here. Complete. Whatever she needed to tell me was apparently Yep. So I say dot, dot, dot. Hold on. I gotta have to respond. Do this real quick. I say dot, dot, dot whenever there's like a break in the text. Sometimes it's just a physical, like a space gap. Some authors will do like 3 asterisks or 3 hashtags, pound signs, whatever you want to call them, depending on how old you are. This author does use the 3 asterisks, 3 stars, to indicate either a time shift or a POV shift or something like that. And this dot, 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 later when I'm editing, because this is how it's going to go. Dot, dot. Entering atmosphere, already announced. So when I'm editing later, I'll be zoomed in to this level. When I'm tabbing through, tab, and I hit this, I'm going to know just by looking that this is dot, dot, dot. Like, on no planet is my narration and this edit point going to look like this. And this is just a workflow that I have developed myself after years of doing this. Typically, that's actually even more of a telltale, like, yes, this is an edit point. And what I do, I'll actually show you exactly what I do here, is as I'm editing, see up here on this track, I'll make it tall here so you can see it. On this track, these are sections of, not silence, but room tone. These are sections of room tone. They're color-coded for ease of viewing, and they're these are preset lengths, and they each have a purpose. The green one is 0.75 seconds. I use that at the beginning of a chapter. The yellow one here is 1.5 seconds, and I use that also at the beginning, but sort of like, it's just different length buffer that I use for certain things. This last one here, the red, that goes at the end of chapters. And the orange one, that one stays on my clipboard. I copy this as I'm editing. And that one is so that when I'm editing, zoom in here to how it will actually look. When I'm editing and I'm hitting tab to jump to the next edit point, and I see this one, all I need to do, I see this dot, dot, dot. I know that's what that is. I select from the end of the last word to the beginning of this word, and I just hit paste. Boom. Perfect, exact 2-second gap, so that it's the right length for me. That's how I like to do it. 2 seconds, so that the reader basically hears this. Sonia in a crisis, it would be Gail. Entering atmosphere, Hardy. It's a good gap, and it works for me. So there you go. Just tiny little process things like that will make you a faster, a more efficient editor and narrator. You're not having to figure out how to do this every single time. You're not having to listen to every transition to make sure that you got that gap right. Having simple, repeatable processes will make you a more efficient editor. Let's see here. Let's see here. Yes. Man, efficiency, that's everything. People often talk about their production multiples. So how many hours of labor does it take you to produce a finished hour of audio? And that's basically how much you're paying yourself. If you're earning, say it's $250 per finished hour, but it takes you 10 hours to create one finished hour, then you're only earning $25 an hour. And you can go earn that at Home Depot if you're like an assistant manager, I think. Whereas if it only takes you 2.5 hours to create a finished hour of audio, then you're earning $100 an hour. Not a lot of ways you can earn that legally. Is my math right? I think that's right. Yeah. So let's get back into it. Let's finish this chapter. We got another like maybe 2 or 3 minutes left in this chapter. Oh, less than that. Not even a page here. So this will be quick here. Entering atmosphere. Already announced. Turbulence in 3, 2, 1. Rebellion shook. Hull temperature spiked. Ablative shielding glowed orange through the viewport. The ride got rough, and somewhere below, thousands of micro-earthquakes pulsed across 3 continents, every 47 minutes, like a heartbeat, like something waking up. We descended anyway, because sometimes that's what command means, flying into the unknown, even when every instinct screams to turn back. 3 days, 72 hours, then we're gone. That's what I told myself. I almost believed it. Let me listen to that whole last thing. I feel like I was... Sometimes... Lou, thanks for the efficiency tips. I hope... I feel like I'm just like talking to myself, but I'm glad someone thinks it's useful. And I know that it's not always going to be like perfect for, every DAW. Like I know that, like, for example, if you're in Audacity, some of the stuff like you can't do. There's just limitations to the program. But I imagine like you probably in your own workflow have come up with or will come up with tips that like would make my workflow faster. And that's why I like the that Facebook group, because sometimes you just learn stuff and it's really cool. So we are gonna listen back to this whole ending section just to make sure I don't need to reread any of that. I get a little bit in my head about the last paragraph of any chapter. I probably reread the last sentence of a chapter more than anything. Turbulence in 3, 2, 1. Rebellion shook. Hull temperature spiked. Ablative shielding glowed orange through the viewport. The ride got rough, and somewhere below, thousands of micro-earthquakes pulsed across 3 continents, every 47 minutes, like a heartbeat. Yeah, I kind of stumbled through like a heartbeat. Really unclear there. Every 47 minutes, like a heartbeat. Did it again. Every 47 minutes, like a heartbeat, like something waking up. I think that's probably fine. We will make this edit there. Waking up. We descended anyway, because sometimes that's what command means. Flying into the unknown, even when every instinct screams to turn back. 3 days, 72 hours, then we're gone. That's what I told myself. I almost believed it. Cool. Yeah, I think it's good to go. So here's what we're going to do now. We are going to do some editing. Let's make this small again. So we're going to go back and edit. I try not to let myself get like super far ahead in narrating and then have this huge backlog of editing to do. So that's what we're going to do. We're going to, we've narrated through chapter 10. We're going to go back and start editing on chapter 6. Importantly though, right now, we are going to open this door. Studio reveal. Cool. All right. If you're wondering why I got this wire hanging down, I don't know if you can see it on the little picture-in-picture there. It's the best way that I've found to get the... actually, we will switch over to the big headphones. It's the best way that I've found to keep the headphone wire out of my way in case I'm gesticulating. And so I've just run everything sort of up and over, and that seems to be the best solution. So let me turn this up and... Chapter 6. Cool. That's good. So what we're going to do is we'll zoom into the level that I like to be in. Go ahead and make this first edit, save our progress, copy this short section of silence that we've got at the top here. And you'll see I'm going to zoom, zoom, zoom. Like this editing process is going to be so fast. Let me listen to this. Exiting the deck port. Yep. 5 hours from... Yep, okay. So you're going to see how fast editing can be. How long is this edit going to be? It's going to take It's going to take less than 3 minutes to edit what should end up being a bit over 10 minutes of audio. Pretty good multiple, I think. And here we go. Wait, I need to mark down that 1755 for that last chapter. 1755. So this is going to take around 3 minutes, maybe less if we're super fast. But the good thing is that this edit takes up so little of my mental bandwidth that I should be able to yap the whole time. Yay! That's the only spot that I'm going to get really surgical with it. And then everything else should be more or less autopilot, just dragging the heads and tails of all of these edit points. So in Pro Tools, the hotkeys are really simple for edits. I hit Tab, and that jumps forward in time to the next edit point. Basically the next point where, in my narration, I stopped and did a punch and roll edit point. So when you punch and roll, it just leaves you with these nice, like, obvious edit points. And occasionally I see what I know to be like little sinus clicks, which is just a factor of the weather up here. It's super dry and cold up here in Maine right now. And so unfortunately I get some nasty sinus clicking that happens, like here.
Sun, ham, and hawk. Opry.
Actually, no, that is not a noise. That is just a consonant. Yeah, so being able to recognize if you do have any particular noises that come through, and just this is an opportunity to get out some of the really egregious stuff, but at the end of the day, you really need to be able to trust your D-Click plugin. Isotope RX Mouth D-Click is, as far as I'm concerned, a necessary tool of the job. It's something you have to have if you want to be a professional audiobook narrator in 2026. Frankly, I have no idea how audiobooks got made prior. It must have been miserable. It must have been just painstaking doing all of the editing to get all of the little mouth noises out of your recordings. D-Click is absolutely a lifesaver for us as editors and for listeners, not having to hear all that mouth noise. I'm trying to remember what it costs. It goes on sale pretty frequently. Isotope does. Obviously, there would have just been sales. In fact, did I upgrade when? Every couple of years, I make sure to upgrade just in case they've got some fancy new tech in the back end. But at the end of the day, like, it works. I've had it since RX 7, and I think now I'm on RX 10 or 11 is what I'm using these days. And yeah, it's a lifesaver. 3 minutes, 10 seconds on that edit. That thing I just did there was not really a macro, but it's a function within Pro Tools where if you select all of, or a portion of a set of audio, you can apply crossfades to every edit. Twice a year you can get two of those plugins, two of the Isotope plugins for $60, and that's where you picked it up. That is a killer deal. And I use Isotope stuff for music as well. So I use the Ozone plugin for like general mastering. I use their Trash plugin on so much stuff. I use it on guitars. I use it on pedal steel if I'm trying to get like a wild sound. I've used it on drums. Man, what a good company. I love everything they do. And so when I like really invested in the Isotope suite, I bought like, I think it was part of their like studio production package or something like that. And I got just a ton of plugins. In fact, like once this is done rendering out, we'll look at what I've got, marking that time for edit, and then the time for that chapter was 12:46. So our production ratio on this chapter was 1.86 hours of labor to produce one finished hour. That's the rate anyway. Which is kind of BS. Like, don't get hung up on this. People talk about their multiples, and people get self-conscious about their multiples. Like, mine for this book so far is less than 2. That's not for real, because I pause my timer more often than I should. I do plenty of time wasting, and so this is just something that keeps me accountable and keeps me working. But my multiple isn't really, certainly not under 2. It's probably closer to 3. But don't feel bad if your multiple is more like 5 or 6. That's totally a great place to start. And if you just start implementing some of these efficiencies from time to time. Don't recognize what DAW I'm in. I am in Pro Tools. I don't recommend Pro Tools for anybody. I'm in Pro Tools because I do music production as well. And so Pro Tools is kind of a necessary evil for anyone who wants to be able to collaborate at a high level in the music industry. So all of my music that I produce is done in Pro Tools, and so when I jumped into voiceover and narrating, it was like, okay, I guess I'll do Pro Tools. But let's see here. What do I have as far as RX plugins? Oops, that was a mistake. Oh boy, that is... so we're going to have to that's annoying that just happened. But let's take a look at what RX tools are available. Isotope. I've got Nectar, which is like more of a singing vocal plugin. Neutron, I think, is a little bit more broad and general. Neoverb is a reverb. Ozone is, again, a mastering suite. And then RX10, this is all your noise reduction plugins. I should try the guitar denoise on my pedal steel, because that thing is noisy. Other things that I use on a regular basis, I do use the DS on narration and on voiceover stuff. DS actually is quite good, and it is a good thing to throw into the stack. In fact, you can see where it is in my stack. In fact, I'll just do a full stack walkthrough. I'll go ahead and add back in this, where did it go? Isotope. I need the spectral denoise. And I'll just do a quick showcase on how this works, because I accidentally, let's solo here and go learn, hit space. And that should be plenty for it to function. And then my reduction, I think 12 is probably plenty for reduction. So here's my mastering stack. Pretty straightforward. Spectral denoise. This eliminates the background noise that just exists in my booth. My noise floor in this booth is already quite low, but I'm running my fans to keep oxygen flowing into and through this room, and I'm also running a space heater that is like facing into my intake fan. Maybe that's not the best thing. I'm sure there's like electricians or someone out there who are like, oh my God, what are you doing? But whatever. I live in Maine. It's hella cold outside. And this spectral denoise knocks down any of that background noise. I've got a channel strip here, and this is basically just a first pass at extremely light EQ and very gentle compression. That runs into mouth declick, basically giving this just gives a little bit of extra dynamics for the declick to be able to sense what's going on. Let's go and make it active for a second. Sensitivity is quite low. I leave the frequency skew right in the middle. Then the DS. De-esser, again, I think I've got pretty standard settings on here, but it works wonders. I definitely can get a little bit sibilant from time to time, If you don't have that issue yourself with the way that you speak or with your microphone, this microphone, the TLM-103, it's a hot microphone. It tends to pick up a lot of bright, high-end sound. And so this microphone in particular is a very sibilant, you know. Cheers. Thanks for stopping by. Yeah, DS, very, very, very good. And then another channel strip. Again, I'm not using like big expensive plugins for compression or EQ. I've got a Giant Waves plugin bundle. I've got a Giant Native Instruments plugin bundle. I've got a lot of fancy compressors, but I don't need it to do anything fancy. I just need it to go like, hey, knock down the loud parts just a little bit, boost everything just a little bit, and at the end of the line, I do have this, the L3, and it's just a limiter. That's all it is. This is basically the emergency brakes. If something really is, basically no matter how loud I run something into this, it's going to stop it and keep it from peaking above ACX spec. The danger is if the rest of your stack isn't well calibrated, if you run audio too hard at this limiter, it's going to sound like ass. It's going to sound squashed and terrible. And it'll pass ACX, but it'll sound like shit. So this limiter here is like, you gotta know what you're doing. You gotta know what you're doing. So let's make all of these things inactive. There we go. In fact, because I'm gonna be extra careful here. I'm gonna close without saving. I'm worried about what I did with that spectral denoise. I don't wanna lose my my setup there. So we're gonna restart Pro Tools here. I'll go ahead and show you a little bit of the process involved with positron. I use positron to proof my audio. As I said earlier, me and all my homies are anti-clankers. However, positron is a lifesaver. You got to proof your stuff. Can we please sign in? Come on, sign in. You got to proof your stuff, and positron is faster and more cost effective than anything else could ever possibly be. And I'm sure that's what someone will be saying about hiring a real narrator, you know. And you know, they're not wrong, you know, but this is what we do. This is what we do. Positron's real simple. You upload the script. Larry, what's up, brother? Positron's real simple. You upload the script and you upload your audio, and it compares the two. It listens to your audio, it reads your script, and that's how it goes. Larry, did it really take me 10 minutes to see your comment? Holy, I've been yapping too much. And actually it might be time to do a quick voiceover. We're going to do a quick commercial voiceover audition here, unless this is some crap I don't actually want to audition for. Let's open up, I think it was on Voices. Hey, thanks for the whatever just happened. Did you sub? Or did you follow? Someone did something. Thanks for doing something. Jobs. What do we got? Oh no, it's Voice 123. Thanks for the follow. Okay, casino commercial. Is this a brick and mortar casino, or is this some gambling on your phone? This looks like it's a brick. Okay, cool. I'm hesitant to do ads for like crypto, for like, you know, online gambling, your DraftKings and that kind of stuff. Things that have like genuine, like immediate negative effects on a huge swath of the population. Like, I'm not going to be reading ads for the Sackler family. You know, try fentanyl today. It's great. I'm not going to be reading those ads. That's not me. Let's shut this door here. However, a physical brick and mortar casino, What's more American than that? That's how you're supposed to gamble. You go into a brick and mortar location, and that's how you gamble away your kid's life savings. That's the American dream. But we're going to do this audition because we're okay with gambling ads. We're going to switch over to the earbud so that we don't get any mic bleed, and just because it's more comfy and familiar for me. So here comes the earbud. All right. This is a super simple script, really nice and short. First of many spots we're producing for this client, searching for a new voice to represent the brand. Tone should be confident, enthusiastic, and positive, but also approachable and authentic. I'm all of those things, so let's go. Red Barn Casino is back with more ways to win this February when you play the lucky draw. The lucky draw. Red Barn Casino is back with more ways to win this February when you play the lucky draw. Red Barn Casino is back with more ways to win this February when you play the lucky draw. Red Barn Casino. Oh, what's it called? Red Barn Casino is back with more ways to win this February when you play the lucky draw. For something this short, I will give multiple reads like that, and I think that's pretty good. Good enough is what I like to say. I have a feeling that we're gonna give them 2 reads. I think we'll give them the second and third reads. I think we're fine, and we're not gonna listen to any of them. We're too busy for that, you know. Boom. Hit our crossfades, hit save. We're going to make the denoise active. We're going to make the declick active, and that's all we're going to bother with. We're going to hit bounce. We're going to name this Red Barn Casino. Red Barn Casino. Bounce that out. Come here. Get rid of that echo. Accept the invite. Hit refresh because voice 123 is messed up. There's the upload window. Voice 123. There's the quote. Put a note here. I've given you 2 takes. And hit submit. You'll notice I didn't spend all day on that audition. I could have spent 20 minutes getting every syllable just perfect and coming in here and like editing and no. Read it, submit it, move on. Cool. All right, so that's that. Let's go to our audiobook. So that little switch I just did, I think is an important thing to point out as like a real part of the workflow of whatever it is you're doing. If you're trying to do, whether you're trying to do commercial voiceover or if it's just audiobook auditions, especially if you have like a work from home remote type situation, or if you're a stay-at-home parent or something like this, if you're wanting to do, whether it's commercial voiceover or audiobook narration, and you're just like struggling like, oh, I need to get work, you need to have ACX open in a tab. Find projects. You need to have ACX open, and you need to be hitting refresh on this thing once an hour, sure, but you need to be hitting refresh on this thing frequently so that when a new audition that is right for you and within your price range and everything else, when it pops up, hopefully you are in a work, home, whatever environment to where you can stop what you're doing, do that audition right there on the spot. Hopefully you're good enough mechanically at the job as far as editing and everything else to where you can turn it around quickly. That audition took me, 2 minutes? Shouldn't take you that long, especially for a commercial voiceover audition. An audiobook audition, you shouldn't be spending more than 10, maybe 15 minutes on it because other people are out there who are faster than you. But hopefully you hit refresh and you saw that project before them because you need to be in quick, because if you're these authors, especially on ACX, these people get hundreds of auditions in when they post a book, but they get them like in the order that they're received. So you want to be first, you want to be early, otherwise you won't ever get heard, and if you're not heard, you'll never get hired. That's how you got to work. So what I just did there is sort of like the logical extension of that workflow. I'm narrating an audiobook right now. That is sort of like where I am in my workday right now. However, a decent voiceover job audition came in, so I switched gears, did the audition, submitted it, and now I'm switching gears back. So whether you are already a regular working narrator or voice actor, or if you are doing something else as your full-time gig and you're just sort of trying to grind away until maybe you try to make this your full-time gig. Let me double check here. Oh, did I seriously screw up? Did I? Hold on. Let me double check here. I might have made an oopsie. 6. Yeah, that's all right. I made an oopsie. When I reset a plugin earlier, I'm gonna have to edit that chapter again. That's all right. It was only 3 minutes of work, but we won't do that 3 minutes right now. We're gonna get back into narrating. We're jumping back into chapter 11, and we are back on USS Crusader. Let me hydrate just a little bit here. How you been, Larry? It's been a minute. I feel like you sent me something a couple weeks ago, and I never responded. I apologize for that. It's been a crazy time. I've had man, with all the audiobooks coming through, audiobooks, voiceover work, music's going crazy. I'm doing like 45 ship gigs this year. I'm doing like a good 10 or 15. Stephen Wilson Jr. Okay, I will definitely check that out. I'm doing like 10 or 15 solo gigs around town here in the next couple months. I've got all this video editing work coming in. I've got podcast work that's ongoing, like paid corporate podcast work. Not complaining. It's great. It's great work to have. But like, I think I'm not bringing that up. Full disclosure for the other folks on the stream, both on Twitch and YouTube. Larry's my brother. He's one of many brothers that I have. I've got a lot of siblings, but for everybody else who's here because they care about voiceover and narration, I do think it's important. Like, I'm not bragging when I talk about all this other work. I think it's important to be realistic about the reality of doing this kind of work full time. In that, even though like, if I wanted it to be like, I could live solely off of audiobook narration. But I don't feel great about having all of my eggs in that one basket. AI voices are getting better by the year. Who knows? Maybe my voice will become really out of vogue. Like, oh, who wants boring white guy sounding voice? No one wants to hire that anymore. Like, it could happen. Something happens to my voice. I can't read for a couple months or something like that. So I do think that if you are looking to get into this, it's important to stay diversified. I've got a lot of media editing and design and project management type experience, and so doing video editing and doing other projects and stuff. Whoever just made a noise happen, thank you again. What the hell was that one? Yeah, hugely appreciate whatever sound just happened there. Yeah. Oh, we've got yeah. We're gonna make sure that this person gets timed out here. Can I not time you out from here? We got someone dropping a little bit of spammies, so let's see here. Yeah, you are. No, we're not even gonna time you out. We're gonna ban you. Get banned. Cool. Yeah. So I'll stop yapping, and we're gonna start reading. Yeah, AI. Honestly, like, so far, like, yeah, it's troubling that Amazon, Audible are like they keep doing trial runs of their synthetic voice, but like still so far the overwhelming feedback is that like individual listeners don't like it. I do think, it's a way to very rapidly get content produced, to get it produced perfectly. Like, AI, a synthetic voice doesn't have to worry about noise floor or like, meeting ACX spec or like what kind of microphone they have or whether their dog is barking. Like, they don't have to worry about all that kind of stuff. It's just, it's quick. It's going to sound the same every single time. Like, I'm sure from time to time they'll get a pronunciation wrong or they won't be consistent on pronouncing a character's name a certain way if they've got a funny way of pronouncing it or whatever. But like a lot of authors and rights holders won't care. And that is a bummer. But I don't think that the kind of work that's going to go away, I don't think it's the kind of clients that are hiring me. The kind of clients who have budget to hire me, they're going to continue to hire me because they see the value. The kind of clients that are going to go to AI are the kind of clients who are like, how can I pay someone $50 per finished hour for this audiobook? Which is like sub minimum wage, like garbage money. Nobody wants that work anyway. It's probably a shitty book to begin with. So yeah, like that's the kind of work that AI is going to take. And I'm fine with AI having it. There is an argument also to be made just for like, accessibility. There are many books that, will otherwise never, ever be made into an audiobook. They just won't ever have anyone who cares enough about a budget for it to make it into an audiobook. But like, sightless people deserve to have access to books that might not ever get made otherwise. So I think that, it's a bummer that they can't have like a human reading it to them. But if it's otherwise like they got to pay outrageous rates for a physical Braille copy or whatever avenues are available to them, I think there's a place for AI voices. And as of yet, I'm not super concerned about it hurting me yet. But again, that's part of the diversification of income. Between the podcasts, between the music production that I do, the live music performing that I do, my pie is pretty equally split up in all these different ways. I don't feel comfortable if everything's in one basket. So let's get back to it here. Chapter 11. Let me make sure we've got the right things loaded up here. And here we go. Yeah. So we're still with Captain Galvin Quintos. So if you've been listening, we're going to be jumping right back in. And if you haven't been listening, this is USS Crusader. We're following the adventures of Captain Galvin Quintos of the United States Space Navy, and they're landing on a planet for the very first time with a bunch of bumbling fools, and hopefully I will get to narrate some of the ultimate buffoon, Governor Brimley. He is so fun to narrate, so we'll see what happens. Chapter 11. Topiaris. Hold on, we got a chat coming in. What's up? True. As an actor, at least I know that AI will struggle or fail at giving a nuanced character performance. Very true. VO is not my main job. I only freelance on the side where I can. Kudos for that. Doing audiobooks is harder in Australia That's right. ACX is only, I think, US, Canada, and UK, which is crazy. Like, why does ACX care? It's insane to me that ACX cares at all. Like, if they were going to restrict it at all, then like, if you're going to have like the UK and Canada, then like go full Commonwealth or like whatever it is, whatever definition will like scoop in your Australia and your, Cayman Islands and like all these other like, it's crazy to me. And the fact that like on ACX, you can check, like as a client, as a rights holder, you can be like, yeah, I want someone with an Australian accent, but they won't let someone who's in Australia like participate on the platform. Like I totally get. I see what, like, I don't know. I think you're being too kind to Ace. Like, obviously they're selling audiobooks to people outside the U.S. and like they're, I don't know. It's, man, if I were in your spot, I think I'd be setting up like a shell corporation in. I understand Ireland's an easy way to do that, but again, that Ireland, given it's not part of the UK, you might not be able to do that. I'd find a friend in the UK or the US to set up a shell corporation, take payments through there. Funnel. I would do some bamboozly tax loophole stuff to do the work and get the money, because like it truly is outrageous. Especially if you're not doing royalty share, which, like, I don't do royalty share anymore. I did when I first got started. But these days, like, there's very little reason for me to consider doing royalty share. I'm not a fan of gambling, generally speaking. But yeah, that's tough. That's really tough. I would imagine, even as, like, doing commercial voiceover, that, like, you kind of have to stick to your local markets, like, sort of doing like direct marketing as talent to your local advertising agencies and stuff like that. That's tough. Suffice to say, there are pros and cons to living in the United States these days. Pros, we get access to some of the, premier platforms, and things are sort of easy because American is considered the default for a lot of things online. Cons, we might get shot in the face for no reason by, masked government goons. Let's get back to work, shall we? All right, let's start the timer over here. Chapter 11. Topiaris Lower Atmosphere. Rebellion. Captain Galvin Quintos. New Providence spread below Rebellion's viewport like something out of a turn of the 20th century movie set. Brass and brick, gears and wood, Art Deco geometric patterns on every surface. The capital rose from repurposed terraform infrastructure. Geometric patterns on every surface. The capital rose from repurposed terraform infrastructure. Cooling towers converted to hotels, processing plants to government buildings. Massive gear assemblies turned slowly behind glass panels, visible from the air. Steam vented from behind glass panels, visible from the air. Visible from the air. Totally lost my... There we go. Glass panels, visible from the air. Steam vented from ornamental copper fixtures shaped like sunburst fans. Telegraph wires stretched between wooden poles topped with triangular brass insulators. Vermilion light from the dying star. My text is coming out there, sorry. Triangular brass insulators. Vermilion light from the dying star caught every brass surface, painted the whole city red gold. That's... Viv paused. Actually impressive. That's insane, I said. Frontier saloon meets industrial revolution meets Art Deco excess. And it's somehow really, really cool looking. Couldn't argue. The aesthetic shouldn't have worked, but it did. One building dominated the Eastern District. Converted cooling tower 30... let's see. Hold on. Ooh. Pardon me. Pardon me while I burp. The aesthetic shouldn't have worked, but it did. One building dominated. Shouldn't have worked, but it did. One building dominated the Eastern District. Converted cooling tower, 30 stories, cylindrical. Original machinery. Tower, 30 stories, cylindrical. Original machinery visible through massive windows. Gear assemblies the size of houses. Steam vented at rhythmic intervals from decorative brass fixtures. Steam vented at rhythmic intervals. Steam vented at rhythmic intervals from decorated brass fixtures. Steam vented at rhythmic intervals from decorative brass fixtures. That's our hotel? Max asked. That's where Bromley's staying, I corrected. We get whatever's left. Hardy had been silent since atmospheric entry. I glanced at the co-pilot seat. His faceplate showed his... Hardy had been silent since atmospheric entry. I glanced at the co-pilot seat. His faceplate showed his middle-aged John Hardy visage, but the colors weren't right. Too saturated, flickering. Hardy, you good? Long pause. Yeah, Cap. Just processing. Z9 hovered near his shoulder. Optical sensors were flickering red. The little droid circled Hardy constantly now. Protective, worried. That was new. Okay. Had to see who was speaking here. Worried. That was new. Landing approach, Worried. That was new. Landing approach authorized, Hardy said. Voice normal. Boston accent intact. Colonial Spaceport, Pad 7. We descended. ... Here's our break. ... The hotel lobby smelled like brass polish and furniture. Come on now. ... The hotel lobby smelled like brass polish and furniture wax. Wooden floors inlaid with brass geometric patterns. Exposed brick walls. Inlaid with brass geometric patterns. Exposed brick walls lined with copper Art Deco sconces shaped... okay. Inlaid with brass geometric patterns. Exposed brick walls lined with copper Art Deco sconces shaped like zigzag lightning bolts. The ceiling rose 40 feet. Shaped like zigzag lightning bolts. The ceiling rose 40 feet, revealing original industrial superstructure, riveted steel beams and pipe networks painted in decorative chevron bands. Colonists packed the check-in desk, all demanding rooms, all angry. Through tall, symmetrical windows, I watched handlers struggle with With what? Is this a real word or is this a sci-fi made-up thing? I don't even want to try to say it because I'll feel stupid. Is this a real thing? El Bronco? Is this a brand? Okay, I think this is a made-up thing. With El Broncos. Oh. Okay, it is a sci-fi, an in-universe thing. This is the first time we've encountered this creature, so give me a break. What the hell is an El Bronco? Second desk, all demanding rooms, all angry. Through tall, symmetrical windows, I watched handlers struggle with Yeah. El Broncos. It's one word. That's why it was freaking me out. El Broncos, which is Spanish for the Bronco. That's funny. Okay. Through tall, symmetrical windows, I watched handlers struggle with El Broncos in the practice yards. The massive six-legged animals, imported from the Kendari system, 8 feet at the shoulder, mottled brown-gray hides, stamped and snorted. Someone got bucked off, landed hard. Medics rushed over. That happened every few minutes. Captain Quintos? Young woman, okay. That happened every few minutes. Captain Quintos? The desk clerk looked exhausted. Young woman wearing a brass name tag shaped like a gear. I'm so sorry, but the presidential suite has been allocated to Governor... A brass name tag shaped like a gear. I'm so sorry, but the presidential suite has been allocated to Governor Bromley. Colonial authority supersedes military bookings. You have standard accommodations. Authority supersedes military bookings. You have standard accommodations. 3rd floor. How standard? 5 rooms, sir. Each room has 2 beds. 10 crew, 5 rooms. Fantastic. Max would bunk with Grip, Ham and Hawk together. June, Sun, and Aubrey would share co-ed style. Dorota was stuck with me. Hardy didn't need sleep. Viv got her own room, medical officer privilege. I took the key cards, geometric brass, naturally. Where's the governor now? Penthouse suite, top floor. He requested you report to him immediately upon arrival. Of course he did. Tell him I'm settling my crew first. Her eyes widened. Sir, he was very specific. So am I. The elevator was an Art Deco brass cage with accordion gates and geometric tilework. The mechanism was visible through glass panels, gears, counterweights, and copper cables. It rose with a hiss of steam. First thing I did in my room, tried Pristy's Priority 1 message. TACBand displayed, downloading, 3%. Error, corrupted data packet. Tried again. Downloading, 5%. Error, network congestion. Again. Downloading, 2%. Error, bandwidth Downloading, 2%. Error, bandwidth exceeded. I stared at the crimson... come on. Error, bandwidth exceeded. I stared at the crimson sunset through the window. Watched El Bronco's buck riders in the staging grounds below. Watched medics carry someone away on a stretcher. Come on. Those buck riders in the staging grounds below. Watched medics carry someone away on a stretcher. Tomorrow, 3,200 colonists would ride those temperamental aliens across 4 million acres, racing for 500-acre homesteads, 8,000 parcels available. Divided evenly, that would be about 2.5 parcels for each colonist. We'll see how that goes. And I couldn't even... Okay, we need to do a little in situ... Carry someone away on a stretcher. I think this is it. Tomorrow, 3,200 colonists would ride those temperamental aliens across 4 million... Yeah, cool. We'll see how that goes. And I couldn't even... Here we go. We'll see how that goes. And I couldn't even download a message from my girlfriend. Communication problems? Dorota stood in the doorway, tablet already glowing. Infrastructure's... Rhoda stood in the doorway, tablet already glowing. Already glowing. Infrastructure's crushed. 3,200 ships in orbit. Thousands, yeah. Let's reread the whole thing. Rhoda stood in the doorway, tablet already glowing. Infrastructure's crushed. 200... Rhoda stood in the doorway, tablet already glowing. Infrastructure's crushed. 3,200 ships in orbit. Thousands of colonists streaming data. Could it be days before you get through? Days. Show me what you found. He pulled up seismic data. Lines and graphs stared at... He pulled up seismic data. Let's reread that, actually. Show me what you found. Actually, no, that's fine. What you found. He pulled up seismic data. Lines and graphs stared back at me. Found. He pulled up seismic data. Lines and graphs stared back at me. What you found. He pulled up seismic data. Lines and graphs stared back at me. You showed this to me before. What's different? Are they Terraform After Effects? No, this is too synchronized. And Galvin? He swiped through more screens. They're all originating... Galvin? He swiped through more screens. They're all originating from unclaimed territories, specifically Zone 7. Zone 7, premium land rush territory, where most participants would head tomorrow. What are you thinking? I'm thinking something's wrong with the subsurface structure. I need to run deeper scans tonight. My TACBand vibrated. Text from Bromley's aide. The governor requests your immediate presence. Penthouse suite. Formal dress uniform required. Reception tonight, 6 p.m. I showed it to Dorota. I wouldn't, Galvin, he said. Not a request. I really think you should ignore it, he said. Not a request. I really think you should ignore it. Tempting, but Bromley had colonial authority. Could make my life hell. Worse than hell. I'm going. It'll be fine. ... Here we go. ... I arrived in a formal dress uniform. Pressed, polished, uncomfortable. The ballroom was packed. 500 colonists in casual yet elegant attire. Silk shirts, designer frontier. In casual yet elegant attire. Silk shirts, designer frontier aesthetic. Expensive fabrics with Art Deco patterns. I was the only person in military formal. Bromley saw me enter, smirked. The ballroom had once been a machinery floor, 20-foot flywheel assemblies polished to a mirror finish, turning slowly in corners as decoration. Exposed pistons rose and fell in rhythmic patterns along the walls. The bar stretched 60. How long did it stretch? Rose and fell in rhythmic patterns along the walls. The bar stretched 60 feet, brass railing supported by brackets cast in interlocking patterns. Steam. Pardon me while I burp. Holy. All right. Brackets cast in interlocking patterns. Actually, how long is this chapter going to be? I didn't even look. Oops. 23 minutes, and we are a little bit more than halfway through narrating this chapter. Very good, very good. Very bubbly. All right. Where are we? Brackets cast in interlocking patterns. Steam vented through decorative floor grates, creating atmospheric columns that caught crimson light. I stood out like a target. Max was in a corner with the Marines, all civilian clothes. Grip caught my eye. Tried not to grin. Aubrey wore a black dress, form-fitting, elegant, dangerous. She raised her glass. Bromley took the stage, video droids circling. My vision, manifest destiny, humanity's future built on courage and capital. It went on and on for over an hour. I stood behind him, visible in every camera shot, prop for his propaganda. A woman in diamonds approached. Can you get me champagne? I'm not staff. Oh, sorry. She walked away. My jaw ached from clenching. Bromley, mid-speech. And I must thank Captain... Bromley, mid-speech. And I must thank Captain... snapped his finger. And I must thank Captain... snapped fingers at his aide. Quintos, sir, the aide whispered with a smile. Captain Quintos, whose crew performed adequately under my guidance. Applause. Adequately under my guidance. Applause for Bromley, none for me. Then Dorota burst through the crowd, face pale, tablet glowing. Through the crowd, face pale, tablet glowing red. Then Dorota burst through the crowd, face pale, tablet glowing red. Galvin, we have a problem, right now. Everyone turned, watched, video droids recording. Not here, Stefan. Zone 7, the subsurface structure is collapsing. I have definitive data. If they run that race tomorrow, thousands will die. Silence. Absolute silence. Bromley's face went red. Excuse me. This is a private reception. Who is talking here? Is it clear that I love narrating Bromley? He's like nothing more fun than to narrate like a pompous ass, the most fun character. This is Dorota. Okay. This is a private reception. Zone 7 has massive subsurface. This is a private reception. Zone 7 has massive subsurface voids. Incomplete terraforming left caverns 50 to 200 to... Tongue twister. 7 has massive subsurface voids. Incomplete terraforming left caverns 50 to 200 feet deep. The seismic activity is fracturing support structures. When thousands of El Broncos stampede across... Dorota. Thousands of El Broncos stampede across... Dorota pulled up hollow projections, showed cross-sections of crumbling geology. Catastrophic collapse. My calculations show 40 to 60% casualty rate within 15 minutes from the time the race starts. This is speculation, Bromley said. Theoretical. This is math. The next major seismic event following the 47-minute cycle hits at 6:08. Event following the 47-minute cycle hits at 6:08 blah 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 blah. Event following the 47-minute cycle hits at 6:08 a.m. tomorrow, 8 minutes after your scheduled start time. Magnitude 4. 8 minutes after your scheduled start time. Magnitude 4.2 or higher. The ground will open. People will die. Colonists murmuring. Video droids capturing everything. Bromley's career imploding in real time. We'll issue warnings, safety advisories. Won't work, I said. Premium participants played... Won't work, I said. Premium participants paid millions specifically for Zone 7 access. They won't avoid it because of vague warnings. Then what do you suggest, Captain? Bromley's voice dripped venom. Section off Zone 7 completely. Redirect starting vectors. Make it a hard exclusion zone. Do you have any idea what you're asking? Zone 7 represents 40% of colonial revenue. 2,000... represents 40% of colonial revenue. 2,000 premium participants paid 5 to 10 million credits for guaranteed access. And they'll die if you don't close it. You don't know that. 93% probability... Close it. You don't know that. 93% probability, Dorota said. I've run those models. 3% probability, Dorota said. I've run the models 6 times. Bromley looked at the crowd, at the video droids, at his imploding empire. Imploding empire? Bromley looked at the crowd, at the video droids, at his imploding empire. This is military overreach. You have no authority. Let's clarify authority. I stepped forward, kept my voice calm, even. USS Crusader is currently in orbital position. Newest Omninaut in the fleet. Full weapons capability. Do you understand what that means, Governor Bromley? He went pale. Are you threatening? I'm preventing mass casualties. Zone 7 gets sectioned off. New race boundaries filed and approved. Or I disable every piece of starting line equipment from orbit. New race boundaries filed and approved. Or I disable every piece of starting line equipment from orbit, and you rebuild for 3 months while explaining to investors why you ignored geological data. I'm going to make that cut here. 3 months while explaining to investors why you ignored geological data. This is mutiny, threatening civilian infrastructure. This is a command decision. Your call, Governor. Save people's lives or protect your profit margin. The room was silent, everyone watching. Bromley's hands shook. Gilbert will have your command for this. Maybe, but those people will be alive. I leaned closer, quiet, just for him. Choose fast, Governor. Closer, quiet, just for him. Choose fast, Governor. I'm losing patience. Long silence. Fine. His voice was poison. I'll redirect the vectors, issue exclusion zones. Are you satisfied, Captain? When I see the new boundaries filed. This will cost me everything. My investors, my political backers, my career. Better than colonists dying. His eyes went dead. You just made an enemy, Quintos. I will personally ensure your career ends for this. That's not a threat. That's a promise. Get in line. He left, video droids following, crowd murmuring. Viv appeared at my elbow. You actually did it. Threatened orbital strikes. Didn't threaten, just... We did it. Threatened orbital strikes. Didn't threaten, just implied capability. That's a hell of a line you just crossed. People would have died, Viv. I know, but... People would have died, Viv. I know, but Gilbert's going to hear about this. We'll deal with that later. No, but Gilbert's going to hear about this. Would deal with that later. Max approached. Sir, Marines want to hit the Stellar Brew House down the street. You should come. Get away from this. I was about to decline, but then thought better of it. If there was ever a time I could use a drink. ... Oh, interesting. Drink. ... 10 minutes later, I had changed into civilian clothes and was headed downstairs. the last line of the chapter, so we're going to give it another go. 10 minutes later, I had changed into civilian clothes and was headed downstairs. 10 minutes later. 10 minutes later, I had changed into civilian clothes and was headed downstairs. Sure. Interesting to do a break right before the end of the chapter. Like one sentence there. I think when I edit this, I won't let the full 2-second gap remain. Maybe I'll do like a 1.5 second gap. That's probably what I'll do. But it'll be plenty obvious when I edit this that that's what's going on. Okay, save. We're going to mark that chapter down as being 20, 23. Now, I said earlier in this stream, I said I would like to narrate up through chapter 12. And chapter 12 is still hanging out with Captain Quintos. So, very, very good. We haven't had to go back to Earth yet to narrate what's going on there. Let's see if the next chapter does go back to Earth. It doesn't. Interesting. But the chapter after this next one is much longer. This is a short chapter. It's only going to take about 10 minutes to narrate. So I think I'm going to hydrate a little bit more. And we'll go ahead and narrate this chapter. And then at that point, I think what I'll do is I'll edit some, wait for any questions or comments that might come through from either chat. Let's also refresh here, make sure we're not missing anything here. And depending on James. Oh, God. Oh, man. I knew what I was doing when I tagged him. Let's see here. It's funny. So, apparently I wasn't aware. Obviously, I'm not a sports guy. But I guess a football game is happening right now. Gotta work. You gotta work, friends. So, yeah, we're going to do this this 10-minute chapter here. Let's go ahead and refresh our voiceover websites, see if there's anything new there. No and no. Hey, let's refresh ACX. Why not? Nothing new there. Oh, yeah, I was talking earlier about Positron. So Positron, really simple. I've uploaded the script. Where does it show that? Project status. It shows somewhere that it's like whatever .pdf. And then let me open up my output folder, Crusader. We're going to draw in. So chapter 1 has already been processed. Let's drop in chapters 2 through 6. So it's going to analyze chapters 2 through 6 here. And then I'll get a little report that shows me where I've messed up. And this website gives you like a really good, they call it like a pickup packet that makes it really easy to go through chapter by chapter, find exactly where you made the mistake. It's easy to bring up on the tablet, so I can like be in the exact same posture and everything. A lot of people, I've seen comments on, especially the Facebook group about like, hey, help, my pickups, they sound different than when I narrated. And part of that could be, it could be, you know, it could be your mic position or whatever. If your tablet and your microphone and everything isn't in the exact same position, if you're in some kind of situation where you're like building like your PVC fort, some of you know what I'm talking about. If you're building your PVC and blanket fort, then, you know, it might not be exactly in the same position as it was when you last narrated it or something. And so it's going to be almost impossible for all the resonances to come together exactly how it was to where your pickups sound exactly like your narration. Other things include like the time of day, your diet day to day. Changing those kinds of things can cause your voice to sound different. So generally speaking, I have a pretty consistent diet from day to day, month to month. Basically, I limit dairy as much as I can, and I try to stay hydrated, but I don't go nuts. Like I could definitely be a better hydrated person. We all have flaws. But day to day, I sound about the same. And bringing the pickup packet up on my tablet to where I'm sitting in the same spot, my microphone's always in the same spot, facing the same way, same distance from the microphone, I know that my pickups are always going to sound pretty damn similar to how I narrate it. So, yeah, that's Positron. But we're going to go back to just doing some narrating now. I think we're going to go for it. Anything else new here? No, we've already seen that. Okay. So yeah, that's chapter 11 done. We're moving on to chapter 12. Boom, 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 boom. Cool. All right. Here we go. Restart our timer. It's going to be about 10 minutes of narrating. Chapter 12. Found Max in the hotel lobby with the Marines, all in civilian wear. The Stellar Brew House? Max asked. Lead the way. New Providence at night was something else. Gas-style lamps, actually energy fixtures in... Oh, wait. Gotcha. Let's do that. We got a... I did a little bit of long roll there just because... Found Max in the hotel lobby with the Marines, all in civilian wear. The Stellar Brew House? Max asked. Lead the way. Cool. New Providence at night was something... Here we go. I'm going to start recording here. New Providence at night was something else. Gas-style lamps, actually energy fixtures in brass housings, created warm pools along wooden boardwalks. Steam vented from street grates, catching light. Public clocks chimed the hours with brass. Man, Steam vented from street grates, catching light. Public clocks chimed the hour with brass bells. El Broncos stamped in distant corrals. The whole city screamed metal and nostalgia. We turned the corner onto Frontier Avenue. The Stellar Brew House rose 3 stories, a converted warehouse with swinging doors fitted with etched glass that caught lamplight in zigzag patterns. Max stopped. Sir. Standing outside, 18 men. Each one was massive, 6 feet 8 inches to 7 feet 2 inches. Bigger than Grip, too muscular, not moving right, too fluid, too coordinated. Dead eyes, all watching the entrance. You seeing this? Dead eyes, all watching the entrance. You seeing this? Come on, Max.
All watching the entrance. You seeing this? Max said quietly. Yeah. Grip cracked his knuckles. Want to find another bar? No, I said. We go in, but stay alert. Always do, sir. We went in. The interior smelled like beer and sawdust. Exposed brick, bronze bar railing with gear supports, massive ceiling fan rotating slowly, industrial-sized, gear-driven. Steam pipes along walls, mirrored panels framed in pitted metal behind the bar. We found a corner table, upper level, good sightlines. Max nursed a beer. Grip was on his 3rd. Ham and Hawk argued about betting odds for tomorrow. June's son stayed quiet. Aubrey had changed into a fitted jacket and dark jeans, civilian but somehow still tactical. ... 10 minutes later, the 18 massive men entered, moved as a unit, flat eyes scanning. One approached our table.
We need to figure out if these people are machines, if they're pirates, who are these people? Who are these people? Let me see here. I need to know. I mean, these guys are pretty clearly some kind of... I'm trying to remember. It's been a while since my pre-read research on this. Trying to remember who these guys are. Okay.
One approached our table. One approached our table. This section's reserved. Leave.
Max, polite.
Didn't see a sign?
The 7-foot brute raised a knotty fist the size of a pineapple.
Here's your sign.
None of us moved. The rest of the group approached, some with pipes in their hands. The brute spoke again, a menacing grin taking over his face.
Move.
Bromley's work. Had to be. No way to prove it, but I knew. Retribution for the Zone 7 humiliation. Humiliation. No way to prove it, but I knew. No way to prove it, but I knew. Retribution for the Zone 7 humiliation. Retribution for the Zone 7 humiliation. I stood. No problem. No way to prove it, but I knew. Retribution for the Zone 7 humiliation. I stood. No problem. We'll... Second guy blocked the stairs.
Downstairs is full. Leave the bar.
June's son, quiet. They want to fight. Third guy grabbed Aubrey's arm.
Except her. She stays.
The crack of his wrist breaking echoed through the upper... Hell yeah. Aubrey's badass.
Except her. She stays.
The crack of his wrist breaking echoed through the upper level. Aubrey. Fast, efficient, no hesitation. Aubrey. Fast, efficient, no hesitation. Then all 18 converged. They moved like soldiers, coordinated, tactical. Grip traded punches with the biggest. Connected solid, a jaw shot that should have shattered bone. The guy barely registered it. Countered with a punch that sounded like metal on metal. The guy barely registered it. Countered with a punch that sounded like metal on metal. June's son used speed. 4 strikes to pressure points that should have paralyzed. Target kept coming. Ham and Hawk fought as twins. Double-team attacks, barely holding. Max got thrown over a railing. 15-foot drop onto a table. He managed to get to his feet and headed back up the stairs. Rejoined the fight, a bloody gash over his left eye. I went for one heading toward Aubrey. A bloody gash over his left eye. I went for one heading toward Aubrey. Attacked the pressure points, joint manipulation, used the railing as leverage. He was strong, too strong. Then he grabbed Aubrey by the throat, lifted her off the ground. I didn't think. Grabbed his wrist, squeezed. The Gorvian nanites in my bloodstream activated. Enhanced strength, faster reflexes, bones that didn't break easily. His wrist shattered. Compound fracture, bone through skin. He dropped Aubrey, looked at me. No pain, just calculation.
Augmented, he said.
Strange choice of words, but the meaning was clear. He was onto me.
So are you.
We fought. Actually matched. The nanites... We fought. Actually matched. The nanites gave me an edge most humans didn't have, but these weren't normal humans either. I landed hits that should kill. He kept coming. He landed hits that should have knocked me down. Should kill. He kept coming. He landed hits that should have knocked me down. I kept fighting. Tables breaking, bottles smashing, overhead fan.
Tables breaking, bottles smash. Where are we? Tables breaking, bottles smashing, overhead fan casting shadows across the chaos. One took a bottle to the face, glass shattered, barely bled, a scratch. Their coordination was perfect, moving as one organism. Then they stopped, all 18 simultaneously, like receiving a signal, turned and left without a word. Silence, except for steam hissing from ruptured pipes. Max limped over, holding his ribs. Who the fuck were those guys? Who the fuck were those guys? June's son wiped blood from his mouth. Enhanced strength. Had to be. I hit points that should have put him down. Grip spat blood. I would have had that guy. Just needed a second to catch my breath. They weren't... Just needed a second to catch my breath. They weren't human, Aubrey said, rubbing her split knuckles. Not fully. This is supposed to be an Earth-only colonization. Let's read that again. Rubbing her split knuckles. Not fully. Rubbing her split knuckles. Not fully. This is supposed to be an Earth-only colonization, I said. So what are they? Colonial... Come on, I said. So what are they? Colonial security arrived in frontier sheriff uniforms, gave me the speech about bar fights and jail time, threatened arrests, but made none. Outside, the 18 stood across the street, formation perfect, unmarked, watching us. Cool. All right, let's do that final edit there where I did a mini long roll. I think that's it right there. But made none. Outside. Yep, that's it. Gonna do that. Cool. That is, gonna mark the time here on that, which is 8:57. Cool. All right. So we're gonna do a little bit more editing here on stream. We might edit everything that we've got, because why not? Not sure. I keep having a little laugh as I look down here. A few days ago, I was doing a video editing project for a local client. And rather than go back and forth through like revisions after revisions after revisions and like, hey, can you add this stuff? There's some extra stuff. Like all of this back and forth communication with like delays of like when you got I was like, hey, you're local. Let's save everybody some time. Come into my studio, sit next to me, and we're going to knock this thing out. And we did. In less than an hour, we knocked out what would have taken weeks of back and forth communication. And as like an extra thank you for like doing that, like facilitating that, they brought me a bottle of bubbly. So it's just sitting here. I'm sure if someone else came in here, they'd be like, "Whoa, Jimmy's an alky, keeping a bottle at his desk." No, I just haven't taken it in yet. But I do have it there, just in case there's something worth celebrating. But I thought that was funny. But every time I look down here for my bottle of water, I have the option. Popping a bottle right here live on stream. But no, let's do some editing. We're going to go ahead and fix this one edit, which is a bit of a bummer, but we just confirming. Yeah, I really did do that. That's silly. All right. That's what I get for not hitting save more frequently. So we're going to do this. Edit a few chapters here. Let me double check the all the things here. Just want to make sure I'm not leaving anybody out. Cool. I still have chat up in my periphery, so if you got something to say, by all means.
I love distractions. Because otherwise, it's just doing this. It's just chop, 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 chop. That gets the yellow, and then the green, and now we're tabbing. So how's your day going? How's your week going? How is your experience with the downfall of Western democracy? How is that going for you? I'll tell you what, man. I'll tell you what. We're going to do a little bit of a... Nope. Let's see here. Man, I'm excited for the coming months here. I got a lot of cool music stuff in the works. I'm working on an album. I've been making my own music for quite a long time, but I've never properly released an album of my own music, and so that's happening soonish. I'm excited. I'm going to have a bunch of people contributing to the album. Originally, I had this notion in my head that I was going to try to do as much of it on my own as I possibly could. Basically, I was going to play all of the instruments on the album myself, with the exception of drums. And that was going to be, there's this guy in Houston who's just an incredibly talented monster on drums, and so that's what's going to be on the album. But I wanted everything else to be me. And then I realized that was like some egotistical nonsense, and changed my mind and decided instead to try to invite as many friends as I could to participate, and in particular, Maine friends. The album, I moved up here to Maine, coming up on 4 years now, 3.5 years ago, really, and moved up here from Texas, and just fell in love with the place. And so I'm trying to have the musicianship on the album reflect that. So there's a lot of really talented people up here in Maine. So most of the contributions are going to be from fiddle players. 4 to 5 different fiddle players, some other singers doing backing vocals and harmonies and stuff. Might have a cello on here, it's going to be fun. And 20 years worth of songwriting, trying to pare that down to just 14 tracks. I think I did it. I've got 14 tracks that I'm quite proud of, and I think that sort of come together to tell a cohesive story. And so I'm looking forward to getting that out to where people can check it out. So that was 3:15. Control save. Let me double check that. Sure, we're going to keep that as it is. All right. Now we're not redoing work. Whoops. Okay, let's take a look at this. That looks right. We'll double check.
Captain Gale Pristy. The fire crackled.
Cool. Did that person actually... no, okay. I don't think so. I just got to double check one thing real quick over here. Is that going to be over here? Follow. Thank you. All right. Yeah, I've been live for a little bit over 3 hours. I think we can keep going for another 20 minutes or so, just as we edit, unless someone comes by to chit-chat. But until then, we're going to keep going. Okay, that 3:15, did I mark the other part of it? I did, okay. So this will be a real quick edit on this one. Cut, yellow, green, tab. After I get to the end of this chapter here, I'll show you why I do those yellow and green sections. basically what it means for the cohesiveness of the entire project. Not something you got to do, but man, it makes the part of my brain that enjoys consistency and uniformity, makes that part of my brain wrinkle with happiness. What am I going to do after stream? I think I'll work on the album, actually. I think I would like to record some guitar. I got my my main acoustic guitar back from the shop, if you will. The bridge on it was splitting away. I actually got to listen to this.
They'd had the right anatomical record.
That's fine. Yeah, I was actually, so this guitar was produced by a local luthier. So when I say it's my main guitar, I mean that in both senses of the word. Listen to this.
Not the truth. I fed that.
Yeah, that's a nasty noise there. But yeah, the local luthier lives just up the road from me. Made a brilliant acoustic guitar for me, and but with the weather and humidity changes and everything, the bridge was starting to lift away from the face of the guitar, and he said, "Bring it on by." So I did. What is happening here? What is happening here? Why is that?
Rifle. Then we'd better move.
How strange. Why would I have done that? Okay. I just wanted to make sure that happened. Okay. Here we go. All right. Save, bounce. That's chapter 7. And then we go back to here and we mark that down. 0204 0932. God dang. Oof. This can't be right. I don't know. We're going to call that. We're just going to do 1440 on this. I don't believe it. Let's go on to the next chapter here. It's going to be about 3 minutes of edit. Track height small. All right, I was going to show you why I do the yellow and green. So if we zoom out, these are the. I'll make these fit. So these are the first 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 chapters. Let me zoom in just a little bit here. You'll notice that every single chapter begins with the same duration of silence. 0.75 seconds of silence. Room tone. But basically silence. And then it's me saying the chapter 1, chapter 2, chapter 3. And then another 0.75 seconds of silence. And then whatever heading there is. So like, it's usually the place, the time, whatever character, whose point of view that we're hearing. So for example, for chapter 1, it sounds like this.
Chapter 1.
Oh wait, chapter 8 is still active. Here we go.
Chapter 1. Somewhere in deep space. USS Crusader. Captain Galvin Quintos. Day 3.
So between that header, that sort of preamble header, and the body of the chapter, I've got this little thing here. It's 1.5 seconds of silence. So every single chapter starts the exact same way. It's completely uniform. You're going to have the green gap, name of the chapter, number of the chapter rather, a green gap, whatever header information is here, then a yellow gap. Every single chapter is the same as far as that format, so that the listener knows, like, once they hear this longer gap, they know, like, okay, all the preamble stuff is done. I'm about to hear the chapter proper. And likewise, these longer gaps, let's see if we can find one here. Yeah, this gap right here, the listener will become accustomed to hearing this exact orange gap to know, like, oh, time has passed or there's a point of view shift. Something has changed to where I'm not hearing the exact same thing that I was hearing before. So in addition to being good for the listener, because we're sort of subtly cueing, we're priming the listener to be prepared for what's coming. It's also good for us as the producer because this is an efficient, repeatable, standardized process that we know that we can follow every single time in this book and in every other book that we do. So that's a little superpower cheat code that you can follow by having repeatable, standardized processes for whatever it is that you're doing. Okay, let's get back into editing here. Chapter 8. And let's see here. How does this one go?
The barn smelled.
Cool. All right. And this one is still copied, right? Copy. Zoom in 2 levels and start our timer. Cut there, cut there, cut there. And then that's going to be yellow, green, green. And there we go. And this is it. This is the job. I'd be really curious, like, how many, if any,
Stopped. Swallowed.
I think that's fine. How many, if any, like, not new narrators, but like people who are considering dipping a toe in, how many people like come in, watch 5 minutes of my stream and go, fuck that looks miserable. Like, and honestly, like, if that is something that happens, like, I think that's a great thing because that person has been saved from a lot of expense, a lot of headache, a lot of wasted time and energy. I think that would be a great outcome if people saw my stream and were deterred from even setting foot on this path. I think that's great. I think there needs to be, I think that needs to exist for a lot of career paths that people for some reason think might be glamorous, but like then when you get into it, like the day-to-day like reality of it is like a slog, and like the percentage of people who are able to make it like work as a career is really low. For that, I'm specifically thinking of like real estate. Like the percentage of people who are able to make real estate like work as a career versus how many people get their license, it's something like 90 to 95% washout rate. People get their license. Oh, I'm going to be a realtor. I'm going to sell homes to the stars. And within a year, they haven't done a single transaction. I say this as someone who at one time had a real estate license. Now, in my defense, I went into it with a plan. I had, hold on.
Centuries of profits just gone. She looked.
That's actually a mouth noise that I think is fine because the character is like hesitating, and that's part of the characterization. I had a real estate license, but I went into it with a plan. I was going to conduct exactly 2 transactions. And both of those were on my own homes. Basically, you can kind of think of it like, to simplify it greatly, would be like selling one and buying another. And you can act as your own agent. There is nothing ethically or legally wrong with that. And so I did that, and that ended up saving something like, I don't know, 3 or maybe it was like $5,000 counting both transactions. Like saved a ton of money by doing it that way. And then I never did another transaction. I did sort of briefly like, let's see if this could work. You know, I went to a few meetings, ran a couple of open house type things, and what I quickly discovered was that like And again, I don't want to denigrate an entire career full of people, but it was pretty scummy. It seemed like a lot of people were not above board. Let me listen to this noise, actually.
Whatever it takes. Can you do that?
That's all fine. Yeah, it seemed like not the most legitimate career field to me. Not to say that if you or someone you love is into real estate, that there's anything wrong with them. But there seemed to be a type, at least in the Houston market where I was at the time. Yeah. All right, that's chapter 8. Let's mark the time down, 3:51, and then the duration, 13:06. All right, let's keep going. But yeah, all that to say, I think if, like, for real estate, if there was a little bit more of, like, a reality check at the door of, like, hey, here's what your average success rate looks like for people who get into this. Here's what the day-to-day job looks like.
Captain Galvin Quintos.
I think
The Red Giant filled
a lot of people would be saved a lot of time studying for and paying for the exam and all that other stuff. Like, I think that would be a good service. So you're welcome for me providing this service to all the potential audiobook narrators out there, scaring you away with my horribly drab and boring life that I lead here in this booth. But wait a minute.
The Red Giant.
Yeah. Okay. This is my life of service. Cool. All right. Looks like we got some crazy noise there. I think that'll be okay though. Yeah, there's some noise here, but my denoise plugin should grab all of that. And a lot of that is going to be super low frequency anyway, which should also be caught by my high pass filter. We are going to cut that though. One more step. There we go. Yeah. Let's do no breath there, I guess. I haven't been quite as consistent with my breathing from take to take, which is like, that's like punch and roll 101. I've been a little sloppy here. But we're schmoving now. This is good. Should be your goal, is to schmoove. The goal is to schmoove. Feels good. Feels good to schmoove. Yikes. I think that's probably fine. Man, I don't know if there was like, I wonder what time of day I was recording this, because the low noise here is crazy. Maybe I just do that. Yeah. If you just flatten out the waveform, you can't see the noise, and it's like it ain't even there. Cool. Something satisfying about Pro Tools has a shortcut that is triple click. Triple click is the same as hitting Control A. And I could hit Control A. My hand is right there, but there's something nice about hitting triple click. 58. Okay. 3 more chapters to edit. Is that right? Yep, 3 more. Let's go ahead and do it. Let's edit. We're being productive today. We are working. All right, here we go. Boom, boom. Oh, and this one's a no intro. Boom, Boom, boom. I think that's right?
The bay smells.
Yep. Ah, we're into stuff that we narrated today. Yeah, I don't like to get too far ahead with narrating to where like suddenly it's like, oh no, I've finished narrating the book and now I have to edit the entire book. That's miserable. But sometimes it'd be like that. What's really miserable is doing pickups for the entire book. Holy hell. I don't know why I do that to myself. For basically every single time. It's rare that I do pickups in the middle of production. It is, I mean, it's probably better for productivity because when I never break up pickups into multiple sessions. Like, if it's pickups for the whole book, I am going to sit and I'm not going to stop until the pickups are done. Like, that is like one of the very few cases where like I just sit and I grind it out until the pickups are done. Not a lot of other things am I like super like grindy about, which is why like I really do give myself a lot of space to a lot of space in my calendar to produce these audiobooks. Like if I was like more locked in, I could probably double my audiobook production, but I wouldn't have as much time for other stuff that I do, whether it's music, voiceover, video editing, podcast production. Like there's a lot of other stuff that I enjoy doing, and I like having the inherent safety in a diversified income. And sometimes I don't want to lock in. Sometimes I want to be a degenerate, you know? Sometimes I want to play Phasmophobia. Such a dumb game, but man. Here we go. This is one of those ... situations where I know when I see that ... that's where one of those gaps go. And that's why I've got that on my... I'm going to listen to this.
Like something waking up.
Yeah, crazy. Oh. There we go. 242 on the edit. I feel like that was a really solid, tight edit. Bouncing that. 242. You'll notice, man, I'm flying. I've got all these hotkeys. Like, this is my 53rd audiobook I've produced. And yeah, with repetition, you'll develop, some muscle memory and all of that kind of stuff. But like really being intentional about these processes. Oh man, I missed this chat message from like an hour ago. That's a bummer. I'm sorry, man. What do you mean when you say consistent with your breathing for punch and roll? If you're still here, I'm answering the question now. What do you mean when you're being consistent with your breathing for punch and roll? Let me see here. I'm going to edit this chapter, and if I spot one of those spots where I was not consistent, I will stop and we'll take a look and analyze it. Very sorry I didn't see that. For some reason on YouTube, all the chat messages like look the same, whereas on Twitch, like the chat messages, like it's easier to differentiate, and it's much more obvious. So I apologize for missing your chat there. But I will answer the question as soon as we find a really good example where I can show you what I'm talking about. So we're going to hit save, make sure this is still on the clipboard copied, and we're going to start the timer and start editing here. And there we go. And I'll try to be a little bit more focused on glancing over and checking chat there. I don't think that's right. I think maybe that tablet's clock is wrong. Maybe it was only 5 minutes ago that you chatted that. I think that's probably right. Like mortified. All right, this looks like a ... That is a ... Let's paste. Yeah, we'll find a spot where I wasn't consistent with breathing. And then contrasting it with a spot where I was consistent is super easy because usually I am. Like that last chapter, I had a bunch of them where I wasn't. That is not a great example. Okay. We'll find it. We'll find it. There's a dot, dot, dot. Paste in the room tone. And go. Okay. This is good. I'm gonna stop the timer here. All right. Hey, you're still here. Good, good, good. All right. So this is I'm gonna increase the height of the waveforms so you can see a little bit here what we're talking about. So let's see here. This is, I'm gonna try to get this like exactly as it was recorded. So this is probably how this section here is what I'm talking about. When you do punch and roll, you basically, I'm sure you know how it works, but I'll just like explain for everybody else here. Whenever you make the mistake, so here, oh God, come back here. Here. So here, I made a mistake right here. I stopped recording here. There's the click of the keyboard. And what I do is I backed up to before I made the mistake. Now, you don't want to go right before because you need to give yourself a little bit of lead room and a place to make the edit. I like to make my edits before a breath, or otherwise like at the end of a sentence where there's going to be a long period of silence and then maybe a breath. But before a breath is an easy place to make an edit because I like to make my edits at the beginning of a breath where possible because it's a consistent way. It always sounds good. Even if it's like not a perfect breath or whatever, it's going to sound good. So here's this last word. Let's actually listen to this here.
Interlocking patterns. Steam.
Interlocking patterns. An immediate breath. Now this isn't a perfect example because like I do still breathe. So what's the word here?
Interlocking patterns.
Interlocking patterns. On the new take, so this is the new take, this is the old take. Interlocking patterns, so this is the end of the word patterns for this new take. I wait for a second. Then I breathe and continue on with the next line. So you see the difference here is in this breath. Here, there's a bit of a pause, then I breathe. Here, I breathe immediately. Now, this isn't a huge deal. Where it does become a bit of a problem is if you don't breathe on one or the other take and you do breathe on one or the other take. It's when there's like a difference in whether you breathe at all or not, that's when there's really a problem. Here, I'm still going to be able to make an edit. In fact, I would probably just edit it like that. In this case, we will listen to it.
It's cast in interlocking patterns. Steam vented through
That's fine. That's fine. That sounds fine to me. You can also, again, I like editing. I like making this edit point before a breath. Let's hear what it sounds like if I edit at the end of the breath.
Interlocking patterns. Steam vented through
I think that sounds fine as well. In this case, thank you for the follow, whoever that was. Because if the problem that can arise, I think it sounds fine here, but the problem that can arise if you have a different breath leading into a different take, I think the breath, depending on how your mouth is like already shaped, getting ready for that next line, the breath sounds different. And if it's different enough, like it can be like, whoa, wait, like it's like that wasn't the same. That wasn't the right breath for what he was about to say. Like it's actually something that at least I can hear sometimes. And generally speaking as well, like just because of how our brains process sound and speech, generally, even if your edit isn't perfect, an edit at the beginning of the breath, it's just, you've got a lot more grace, a lot more room for error, even if it's not a perfect edit point. hopefully that's helpful. Hopefully that makes sense. That like, and so all that means this, yeah, knowing how to solve it in editing is good. But if you are consistent with your breathing when you're recording, when you're doing the original punch and roll recording, you know, I should have known when I breathed here, like I should have known when I backed up and started punch and roll recording from here, you breathe the same way as the take that you're replacing. You got to be consistent in the way that you breathe. If you feel like your breath there was wrong, it was bad, you don't want to repeat it, then you need to move back further in that sentence or move back to the previous breath or something like that. Go back further until you're happy with how your breathing was, and that will lead to a more consistent editing process and just a more consistent punch and roll altogether. So hopefully that's helpful. If you've got like further questions, happy to go. Like here, I'm going to make this edit right at the beginning of this breath. It's a catch breath, and actually that might be a consonant. Let's listen.
Speech.
It's fine. We're going to bring the resolution down by 1 tick. I don't want to be distracted by stuff that isn't real. But really at the end of the day, like this is stuff that, here's a great example. I'll stop the timer again. Here's a great example. Here, this is the original take. I finish the word, long period of silence, then I take a nice gentle breath. The new take, this here, it's like a catch breath immediately after. It's like, okay, generally speaking, what I do in these situations, trust the new take. This, like, you know, you're essentially reading cold. Like, you can pre-read, but like, you know, audiobooks are hours and hours and hours long. You're not going to remember every single line and how you should interpret every single line. So I am going to trust that when I messed up this take or I stopped it for whatever reason, I'm going to trust that I didn't read this the way that I really wanted to, and I'm going to trust that this new way of breathing is the correct interpretation. And so I'm going to put my edit point back here and there. And once my automatic crossfades happen, it's going to get a little whoop. And so that edit will be nice and neat. And all of this is important because you'll notice I haven't listened to this edit yet. I don't know what's being said here, but it's important to be familiar enough with your editing process to where you don't have to listen. If you're listening to every single transition, you are going to spend hours and hours and hours that you don't need to be spending editing your audiobooks. And that's going to make you a less efficient editor, and it's going to bring down your hourly rate. You set your own hourly, like, yeah, we're going to earn a set per finished hour rate from the client, but from that, what we actually earn per hour is up to us based on how efficient we are in our own editing. And again, if you are stopping and listening to every single transition with every single edit point, you're paying yourself less. So you'll notice, like, unless there's something weird, unless I've done something weird and awkward, like even there, like I trust that, like, moving that edit point there, even though it wasn't on a breath, like, I know what I'm doing. Like, yeah, I'm going to trust that that's right. And if it's not right, Positron is going to catch it. So trust in your tools, trust in your own processes and abilities and everything like that, and life will be good. This ain't that serious. It's just audiobooks, man. You got to schmoove. Let's bring that back to small and bring this to small, and let's wait a minute. Okay, yeah. Did we bounce this yet? Am I crazy? Chapter 11. Okay, bounce that out. And it looks like my dank chat crashed. What is that about? Let's go to, why did you crash? Open and split screen. Okay, so now I should be back to seeing both chats. My my Twitch chat app thing went away for a minute there, but 3:13. Let me double check that I haven't missed anything over there. Nope, everything's good. Howdy, howdy, howdy. Welcome, welcome, welcome. And then we've got a mark here for 13:27 on that track. 13:27. All right, one last short chapter to edit, and then we will probably call that a stream.
Found Max in the hotel lobby.
Yeah, okay. Cool. All right, here we go. Boom. Boom. Yellow, green. The one time so far in this book we've had to do that. Interesting. All right, cool. I think I need to bring the resolution down one kick on this. Yeah, we'll do that. There we go. There's a dot, dot, dot. That's a section break that we paste for. Boom. Boom. Was it at the end of this chapter that had the interesting, like, one sentence section break? We'll double check that if it is. Oh man, my tablet is acting up. If you have chatted, I'm not going to be able to see it for just a minute here. Let me finish editing this chapter. Should only have another minute or so. Because yeah, my tablet is acting a fool. It might have overheated. I'm curious. I've never ran this particular setup. Certainly not for this long. Boom, 1:15 on that edit, and double checking where was it the last chapter that had that break? Let me see here. It is. Okay. We actually want to I want to replace this in this chapter. Having a full section break right before the last sentence of the chapter, I feel like that's going to be a little bit jarring. So we're going to delete that. We're going to drag in the yellow one, even though it won't show up as yellow here. Please, hello. Okay, we're going to make that cut there so that when we drag this in, thank you. There we go. There, happy with that. Crossfades, save, bounce, chapter 12, bounce out. Let's go back to here. Let's go back to you and go open and split screen. Curious. Tablet doesn't feel super hot. No, I don't want notifications. Please go away. And let's see here. Can we go back to where I was? No, I can't. Go back to you. And we're still live. And we'll see if the chat is still here. Okay. Looks like it's still there. Interesting. Like, without touching anything, like, my tablet was just like, peace, I'm out of here. Cool. All right. So that is 12 chapters of this book that have been edited, have not been proofed. Only the first chapter. Well, actually, I haven't proofed the first chapter. The rights holder has not opened this book up on ACX yet, which means I haven't even submitted the first 15 minutes. But I've worked with this rights holder for 8 or 9 books now, so they know what it's going to sound like. At this point, the only new character that has been introduced is the antagonist, that really fun character, the governor. This author writes those fun, pompous ass characters in a really satisfying way. I really appreciate this author for writing those, giving me the opportunity to play that kind of character. So we're going to double check to see if there are any voiceover auditions that we might quickly do right here at the finish line. And check and see if there are any messages anywhere. Anything new on ACX? Nothing new there. There. Let's mark this. We're at 01:15, and then that last chapter was how long? Last chapter was 602. 602. That is a damn good ratio. Holy. 1.85. My production ratio. That is crazy. I need to stream more often. That is like, that's good stuff. Happy about that. All right, double checking. We got all our fun little stuff here. Just double checking. Cool. All right. So what we're gonna do? We're gonna end stream. We're gonna say goodbye. We're gonna say thank you for stopping by. Probably. Listen, I know the stream is never gonna get 1,000, live concurrent viewers. I know that I'm in a niche subcategory here. But it is good to have some folks stopping in and asking questions, saying hi, all that good stuff. Especially when it's not just my immediate family members. So thanks for everybody who stopped by. If you're watching this in the future, whether you're coming in from one of the Facebook groups or what have you, howdy. Leave a comment on whether it's on YouTube or Facebook or anything like that. I'm going to try to do this more consistently. I have been doing it more consistently the last couple of weeks here. So I'm going to try to do it 3 times a week if I can, to include some nights in weekends and try to catch people wherever their schedules might put them. So there's that for my friends on this side of the industry. If somehow you stumble across this and you're like, hey, I want to pay Jimmy to talk for me, you can head over to the website. veteranaudio.com is the website. There's a little contact thing. You can email me there. Details about your project, whether it's an audiobook, a commercial, whatever you've got. Phil, thanks for the follow. Really, really appreciate it. Yeah, the website's right there. Otherwise, we'll see you around. Say hi to me on Facebook. I'm not as consistent a contributor as the celebrity James Romick, but I do my best. Big shout out to James and for being the enforcer for all the new narrators coming in. Fensterino, thanks for stopping by. Thanks for hanging out. I'm gonna do this more. So if you're around, say hi. And if you've got any ideas, I don't know. I'm just doing auditions and talking shit. So if you got more ideas, let me have it. Thanks for coming by, and we'll say goodbye with my special graphics for saying goodbye. Thanks, y'all. Cheers.